What is up everyone, Xeno What If here. For those that are new to the channel itself, subscribe and leave a comment down below for any new ideas for new videos. Here to bring in the movie of What If Jaune arc was betrayed and was in SunRise. Link down the description of the fanfiction of this, What If. Listen to your YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Chapter 1, Jaune. Stay away from my sister loser. Weiss. You should be arrested. Blake. And I thought you were a good person. You're such a hypocrite. Ren. You could have endangered me and Nora. We should have you removed from the team. Pyrrha. I'm sorry Jaune, but I can't let this go any further, please understand. Student 1. Look, it's the faker. Student 2. Get out of here. Student 3. Loser. Student 4. Cheat. Student 5. Get lost. Ozpin. On speaker, may Jaune come to the principal's room. I repeat, may Jaune go to the principal's room, thank you. The students chattering themselves, thinking Jaune finally getting expelled. When Jaune goes to the principal's room, the student is all saying bad words except Team CFVY. At principal room, Ozpin. Mr. Ark, do you know why you are called here? Jaune. I don't know, but whatever it is, I'm ready, Jaune said as he makes no emotion. Ozpin. I am sorry Mr. Ark, but your father just disowned you and he wants you to give back the Crocea Morse, Ozpin says to Jaune with a sad voice. But Jaune just gives the weapon to Ozpin and says, it's that all? And Ozpin says, yes, then he goes to the roof to take all his need to survive because he going to run away from the beacon. Emerald Forest. Jaune is walking in the Emerald Forest. He hears a howl indicating there is a grim nearby, and with bad luck he was spotted by a bee-wolf pack. He tried to fight them back, but there are too many of them, making Jaune take heavy damage, making Jaune run and leaving all his supply and his shield to run faster. Then he stumbles to a cave. He goes in it and found an advanced door. He opens it, then blocks the door, and he then sees an advanced tool. He press a button and a portal came alive. He was just thinking to go out of the strange facility, but there is a bang in the door, making Jaune no choice but to get into the portal. When Jaune gets out of the portal, he was confused because the place is not like a Remnant. The planet that he was on was known as Planet Earth. He was a group of military soldiers from a faction known as Londo Bell, also security group of this academy known as SunRise Academy. Jaune was in an interrogation room, wasn't really roughed up or anything like that. One of the person was actually a headmaster known as Captain Bright. Noah asked the questions about Jaune. Jaune said many of a bit of the truth, including not telling them about him being from Remnant. Captain Bright Noah felt a bit bad and decided to actually give Jaune a chance for him to actually join SunRise Academy. Captain Bright Noah. Welcome to SunRise Academy. Chapter 2. After a couple of months, when a moment you join this amazing academy known as SunRise Academy. Jaune Ark is now known as Kiyoya Kisugi, a famous ace mobile suit pilot that piloted his own custom-made mobile suit known as HIIMG Gundam HII Magnu. SunRise Academy was not also meant to train mobile suit pilots, but also racers that tried futuristic advanced formula race cars. There was also a hero course in the academy for people that had powers, train the next generation of hero. Not to mention people to become singers or pop stars to become famous. Jaune Ark Kiyoya Kisugi trained non-stop with his mobile suit piloting improvement. Sometimes he's always on missions which many of the ace pilots such as Amuro Ray, Kiriko Kuvi, and Daidoji against many powerful enemies with their machines. Jaune Ark Kiyoya Kisugi had a harem of his own. Noah Izumi, Setsuna, Akari Azora, Allenby Beardsley, Kokona, which HD had a crush on them instead of having crush on that so-called ice bitch and Pyrrha. Jaune Ark Kiyoya Kisugi was able to a lot of grades, coming what a heck of a smartass in the whole entire academy, making some people jealous and so understood that didn't really care as much. The headmasters such as Captain Bright Noah, Juzo Okita, Jean-Paul Roshina, Kenny Duncan, Henkin Beckoner, Kutaro Taiga were rather impressed by Jaune Ark Kiyoya Kisugi becoming a top rank, a spot ace pilot and a top S star of class. Jaune Ark Kiyoya Kisugi had some great birthday parties, including actually getting his own robotic companion known as Haro. A couple of months passed by, Jaune Ark Kiyoya Kisugi became the greatest mobile suit pilots and soldier. Jaune Ark Kiyoya Kisugi got a reward as a medal from Captain Bright Noah, Juzo Okita, Jean-Paul Roshina of protecting many colonies in the planets and the space colonies. Jaune Ark Kiyoya Kisugi didn't really care as much of his old life and his parents. Many of the headmasters of SunRise Academy gave Jaune Ark Kiyoya Kisugi gave him his own ship, SCVR-85 Oceanus and fleet, 5X USS Flag, 5X Irish-class F, 4X Dreadnought-class Vanguard spaceship, 4X Andromeda. A group of enemy spaceships hyperdrived left their star system to somewhere unknown. John Ark Kyoya Kisugi knows that a bad feeling is about to happen. And the people that were assigned to him were a group of Londo Bell, Earth Federation Army, United Nations Cosmo Navy, including friends that he made, Ko Araki, Sai Saichi, Bernard Mancha, Chap Adel, Alpha A. Bait, Volfog, Furyu, Raryu, Moroha, Seshomaru, Setsuna, Golden Ryan, Magical Cat, He is Thomas, Mr. Black, Saphira Gardner, Almatando G, Knight Kojima, Makoto Kagami, Noah Izumi, Kanuka Clancy, Asuma Shinohara, Kane Wakaba, Light Newman, Tap Oceano that were meant to accompany him to this mission. The ships started, leaving orbit activating the hyperdrive. However, John Ark Kyoya Kisugi didn't even realize that he was heading to his home planet Remnant. As the ships of SunRise Academy and their accompanying forces soared through space, John Ark Kyoya Kisugi couldn't shake off the uneasy feeling gnawing at him deep inside. Despite his excitement for the upcoming mission and the camaraderie he shared with his fellow students and teachers, there was a nagging sense of foreboding that refused to dissipate. He glanced around at his companions, noting the determination etched onto their faces as they prepared for battle. Among them were familiar figures like Amuro Rei, Kiriko Kuvi, and N. Doji, seasoned veterans who had faced countless enemies and emerged victorious time and again. There were also newer faces, such as Ko Araki, Sai Saichi, and Bernard Mancha, eager young pilots brimming with potential. John Ark Kyoya Kisugi knew that no matter what challenges awaited them, they would stand together and face them head-on. But as the ships approached their destination, he couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would be different somehow. That perhaps, they were headed towards a confrontation that would change everything. As the ships entered the target system, John Ark Kyoya Kisugi's fears were confirmed. Before them loomed the remains of his old homeworld, a desolate, war-ravaged planet scarred by conflict and destruction. It was a sight that brought back painful memories and emotions that he had long sought to leave behind. Yet despite the pain, John Ark Kyoya Kisugi knew that he couldn't turn away. He had been given a second chance at life, a chance to become a true hero and make a difference in the world. And now, more than ever, that was exactly what he intended to do. With renewed resolve, John Ark Kyoya Kisugi joined his comrades in preparing for the battle ahead. Together, they would face down the remnants of the enemy forces and bring hope and peace to a world torn apart by strife. In the midst of the chaos and carnage, John Ark Kyoya Kisugi found solace in the bonds he had formed with his friends and allies. He saw the courage and determination in their eyes, and he knew that they would stand together and emerge victorious. Throughout the fierce battles that followed, John Ark Kyoya Kisugi proved himself to be a formidable opponent, wielding the power of his HIIMG Gundam HII Magnu with skill and precision. His intelligence and quick thinking often turned the tide of the battle, earning him the respect and admiration of his comrades. As the final moments of the conflict drew near, John Ark Kyoya Kisugi stood tall amidst the ruins of his old homeworld, surveying the devastation and destruction that had once been his world. But alongside the wreckage, he saw signs of new growth and renewal, evidence that the people of this world were determined to rebuild and start anew. And in that moment, John Ark Kyoya Kisugi knew that he had truly become a hero, one worthy of the title, and ready to face whatever challenges the future may hold. Together with his friends and allies, John Ark Kyoya Kisugi embarked on a journey to restore peace and order to the galaxy, using the lessons he had learned and the experiences he had gained during his time at SunRise Academy. With each victory, he grew stronger and wiser, proving that even the most unlikely of heroes can rise above adversity and make a lasting impact on the world. Chapter 3. A portal appeared and the ship entered the galaxy. Everyone in the ship is okay as they stand up on their feet. John Kyoya. Is everyone alright? Crewman number 1. Systems in the ship seems to be 100% fine. Ryu GGG Super AI Vehicle Machine in robot mode walked up. Ryu. I have to admit of all the crazy things almost feel like my sisters went haywired. Volfog the Police Ninja GGG Super AI Vehicle Machine in robot mode walked up next to Ryu. Volfog. Take it easy, trust me, we all have been from far worse. John Kyoya. Status report on the situation. Crewman number 2. Well, when a moment we exit out of the portal we end up in the middle of nowhere somewhere in the region of the galaxy. It was a moment of silence until Bernard Mancha was freaking out and panicking at the situation. Mancha. So we're middle of fucking nowhere. Bernard Mancha got a slap on the face by John Kioya of his panicking. John Kioya. That's enough for the time being, I need any reports if there's any planets nearby. Crewman number 5. Sir, we just found a planet and there's lifeforms there. Ryu. Wait, what? John looked out the window to see a planet that looked like Earth and saw a shattering moon. Wide open he recognized that planet before. John. I think I know where we are. Everyone looks at him to see him staring at the planet. Wait, you know that planet. He turned around and faced them. John Kioya. Yes. It's called Remnant, my home. Everyone was silent for a moment and then, something shocking happened. All. What? Crewman number 8. You live on that planet, sir. John Kioya. Look, I can explain all of you later. For now, check on them if they are okay. Crewman number 9. Yes, sir. After they check on them, everyone is looking at John to know about his home planet. Kojima. So, I've heard that you were born there. Is that true? John Kioya. Yes. Remnant is my home planet. Is there anywhere on the planet that no one else can't see us? Crewman number 9. Well, there's one known as the Dragon Continent, barely any city nearby. John Kioya. I want to set up a base in the Dragon Continent, make sure that our presence have to be low profile if just in case we have to reveal ourselves to the world. Alright, we'll do our best to keep a low profile. But what about the people who live on that continent? Aren't we putting them at risk by setting up a base there? John Kioya. I understand your concerns, but we need a place to operate from. We can establish our presence discreetly and minimize any potential disruptions to the locals. Kojima. And what about the authorities? They might not take kindly to a group of strangers setting up a base on their planet. John Kioya. That's a valid concern. We'll have to tread carefully and avoid any unnecessary attention. But I believe we can find a way to coexist peacefully with the people of Remnant. Volfog. I agree with Kioya. We've faced much worse situations in the past, and we've always managed to come out on top. Ryu. Yeah, I'm with Volfog on this one. We can handle whatever challenges Remnant throws at us. Alright, then it's settled. We'll set up a base in the Dragon Continent and do our best to stay under the radar. But if things go south, we'll need to be ready to fight our way out. John Kioya. I appreciate your support, everyone. Now let's focus on getting our gear and supplies ready for our arrival on Remnant. SCVR-85 Oceanus and Fleet, 5X USS Flag, 5X Irish Class F, 4X Dreadnought Class Vanguard Spaceship, 4X Andromeda entering the atmosphere of Remnant, going to the Dragon Continent. Luckily Atlas or any other kingdom did not spotted them. Arriving at the Dragon Continent, they are ready to set up the base for operation, including maybe creating a city better than the 4 kingdoms. As the team begins unloading their equipment and setting up the base in the Dragon Continent, John Kioya takes a moment to reflect on his past life on Remnant. He remembers the friends and family who turned their backs on him, as well as the challenges he faced in becoming a huntsman. John Kioya. To himself, I won't let my past define me. I'm here to create a new future for myself and my friends. As he works alongside his new teammates, John Kioya can't help but notice the camaraderie and trust that has developed among them. They may come from different worlds and backgrounds, but they share a common goal, to protect and serve those in need. One day, while exploring the surrounding area, John Kioya and Co stumble upon a group of children playing near a river. They notice that the children are wearing ragged clothes and seem to be in poor health. Concerned, those kids don't look well taken care of. We should do something to help them. John Kioya. Nodding, I agree. Let's gather some supplies and see if we can improve their living conditions. The 2 huntsmen return to the base and gather food, clothing, and medical supplies. They then bring the items back to the children and offer their assistance. Child number 1. Grateful, thank you so much. We've been struggling to survive ever since our parents died. John Kioya. Sympathetic, I'm sorry to hear that. We'll do everything we can to help you and your friends. As they spend more time with the children, John Kioya and Co learn that they are not the only ones suffering in the Dragon Continent. Many families are living in poverty and facing dangerous conditions due to the lack of resources and support from the government. John Kioya. Determined, we can't just stand by and watch this happen. We need to find a way to help these people and make a difference in their lives. Ko. Agreeing, I'm with you, Kyoya. Let's use our skills and resources to build a better future for the people of Remnant. With renewed purpose, Jaune, Kyoya and his teammates work tirelessly to establish a thriving community in the Dragon Continent. They use their mobile suits to transport supplies, build infrastructure, and protect the citizens from any threats that may arise. Over time, their efforts begin to pay off. The once neglected area becomes a beacon of hope and progress, attracting more people to join their cause. And as word of their success spreads, the governments of Remnant can no longer ignore the plight of the Dragon Continent's residents. As Jaune, Kyoya stands atop a hill overlooking the bustling city they have created, he feels a sense of pride and accomplishment. He may have been a nobody back on Earth, but on Remnant, he has become a hero, not just to his teammates, but to the people he has sworn to protect. And as he looks out at the shining city below, Jaune, Kyoya knows that he has found his true calling in life. He is no longer the faker or the loser he once was. He is a huntsman, a leader, and a champion of justice, fighting for a brighter tomorrow for all. Chapter 4. Jaune, Kyoya and his team continue to work hard to maintain and expand their new city in the Dragon Continent. As they develop new technologies and strategies, they start sharing their knowledge with the rest of Remnant, hoping to inspire positive change throughout the world. Jaune, Kyoya. To himself, this is going to be plenty of hard work. Jaune, Kyoya alongside many of the other forces of SunRise have also realized that some people are getting their attention. Many mobile suits guarded the outside of base, and many spaceships of a variety of different shapes and sizes landed in the docking bay of the base without being spotted by Atlas. Jaune, Kyoya was watching the news of the incident that happened in the docks, including running into an ex-friend Blake Belladonna, however he knew that she was also part of the White Fang. Jaune, Kyoya. To himself, misguided my ass, I told what a lot of terrorists that are far worse compared to them. Londo Bell Soldier Male Number 1 walked into the command center with a serious looking on his face. Jaune, Kyoya. To Londo Bell Soldier Male Number 1, is there something you need, soldier? Londo Bell Soldier Male Number 1. Not much, sir, but we do get reports about a village being attacked by dazed terrorists known as the White Fang. Jaune, Kyoya. To Londo Bell Soldier Male Number 1, I agree. Prepare squadron units of JMS-09ST Scopadog and my personal unit Scopadog AG Custom. Londo Bell Soldier Male Number 1, roger that. Jaune, Kyoya wants to hangar bay and got inside Scopadog AG Custom alongside many of the other soldiers inside JMS-09ST Scopadog that were inside of Garuda class flying to the village. Elder Villager. Pleseee spare us, we don't do anything wrong. The Elder Village beg. WF1. It's because human and Faunus can't be together, now prepare for the consequence, say one of them, almost impaling one of the villagers. But before the sword hit the target he was shot dead. Everyone is surprised because his aura do not protect him. Then Scopadog AG Custom and the group of JMS-09ST Scopadog mecha, but instead not similar to any mecha in Atlas. Jaune, Kyoya inside of Scopadog AG Custom. Surrender now or be annihilated, the man says with a deep tone. WF2. We will never surrender to you, human, and you are alone, you are no match against us. After that the White Fang attack him, but the man just say. Jaune, Kyoya inside of Scopadog AG Custom. Ignorant fool men, get right to open fire. Many the soldiers inside of JMS-09ST Scopadog killed off many of the White Fang soldiers. Some tried to flee, but with the super mecha for way more advanced compared to Atlas's cheap tech. The villagers are amazed and scared by the power they have shown. Then the guy approached the elder. Elder. TTTTT, thank you BBB, but are you AA Atlas? The elder says with terrified voice. Jaune, Kyoya inside of Scopadog AG Custom. No, we are not Atlas, we are another faction, says the man. Londo Bell Soldier Male Number 6 inside of JMS-09ST Scopadog. Your village is destroyed, what do you go and do? Asked the man. Elder. We will move to another village, let's hope they have mercy on us, say the elder. Jaune, Kyoya inside of Scopadog AG Custom. You can go with us, we were building a new city not far from here. There is no discrimination, plenty of jobs, and you can join the military or military police, said the man. Elder. I will discuss this with my people, it is okay, mister. Jaune, Kyoya inside of Scopadog AG Custom. Jaune or Kyoya, Yes, you can discuss this, Jaune Kyoya says after opening the hatch of the cockpit of his mecha. The villagers were happy and agreed to join them. They were picked up by a Garuda class, and they were astonished by the city's advance and beauty. Chapter 5. After Jaune saved the village, he ordered his army to save more villages and destroy White Fang in the Dragon Continent, making a certain bull mad. The capital city is called Nexus SunRise Metropolis, the city for people to become police officers with mecha. Barak Konaguch Police AV-98 Ingram, MPL-97S Python and AV-02 Valiant by a female veteran police officer Noah Izumi to train new young recruits to pilot these police mechas. For military forces for mobile suit training and hand-to-hand combat training, wheels led by Lieutenant Amuro Ray to help new cadets in piloting the mobile suits. The city was not also meant to train police officers but also teach them to be heroes as well, including race car drivers, in the new SunRise Academy. The villagers of Remnant were able to learn history about many of the conflicts and cultures of the planet known as Earth, which amazed them that these people actually came from another planet that was way more technologically advanced compared to Atlas, with different energy sources that were way more superior compared to Dust. Captain Juzo Okita and Captain Bright Noah, as the head of the director and admin of this metropolis of a city, make sure that nothing goes wrong. Jaune Kyoya was still in his quarters looking outside his penthouse of the metropolis he created better compared to Four Kingdoms corruption. Susumu Kodai walked in, getting the attention of Jaune Kyoya. Jaune Kyoya, so how is the situation? Susumu, we doing good so far. It seems many of the recruits for military and police officer forces have been rising up, and not to mention a lot of the people that we have rescued are enjoying this metropolis of a city and we have created. Jaune Kyoya, that's good news to hear. Did any of the other kingdoms figure out about our whereabouts? Susumu, not really, sir. However, it certainly seems that we have to be more careful. Jaune Kyoya, I know about that much for sure. Soon, word will get out of our involvement of limiting the White Fang. Susumu, is there anything else? Jaune Kyoya, that will be all. Just go and take a break. Susumu, thank you, sir. Susumu Kodai left a penthouse and was going on his R&R, needing a bit of a break. Jaune Kyoya, to himself, sooner or later, we'll have to reveal ourselves, the whole world I despise, not wanting to actually encounter those assholes I call friends. At Beacon Academy, cafeteria. Lisa. This is Lisa Lavender. Last night, a White Fang officer that was called Lieutenant was killed by an unknown force. There were many who surrendered. We even managed to interview some of them. WF Soldier 1. They are demons, they come from nowhere and killed us, the soldier says, then having a mental breakdown. Police officer. I think you move to the next one. Worker. They were very skilled piloting giant machines that almost looked way too advanced compared to the tech from Atlas, and I think they called themselves the Army of SunRise. Lisa. You hear that, folks? This group or SunRise are advanced units of mechas with a bullet that can penetrate aura. This is Lisa Lavender reporting off. They were amazed and scared by the sheer of power and advancement, because no one in Remnant history has managed to build a penetrating bullet. Meanwhile, in the Ozpin office, after watching the news, Hen and Glinda were surprised too. Ozpin, we need to find them before Atlas does. Glinda, I agree, if Atlas somehow gets that weapon, chaos will happen. Ozpin, you are right. I already sent Kiro to find them. Glinda, I hope that drunk man gets the job done. Ozpin just chuckles and then says, Ozpin, how about John, any progress? Glinda, number. Ozpin, he already missing for 1 month and all we found was the shield and body armor on the ground with blood. Ozpin finish with a sign. After John disappear, he was worried and hoped that his friend are going to learn from their mistake and worried about him too, but instead of getting that, they were still not worried and are happy that he was gone. This makes Ozpin mad and forcibly makes Cardin confess the truth. All beacons were shocked and guilty because of what they had done to John. Then they take all of their hate to Team CDRL, making them stay in the infirmary for 3 weeks. But the most take effect was the Team J, PNR, and RWBY. They were very depressed and do not come out from their room for a month. John's family is also breaking up because their father was making choices before asking their opinion, and Juliet, John's mother, divorces Jack, John's father. They force Jack out of the house and make sure he can't touch the family again. At Nexus SunRise Metropolis, many soldiers were disguising themselves as civilians, were infiltrating the Kingdom of Vale using fake IDs and forged money, made more raids and destroyed many of their bases, but take all the food and material except the dust to see that it was totally outdated. Chapter 6. At Nexus SunRise Metropolis. Many of the people who were refugees of villages that were attacked by the White Fang, many of the villagers became civilians of Nexus SunRise Metropolis. Many civilians became police forces and military forces, while some young ones also decided to join the new SunRise Academy to be heroes, race cars drivers, and master chefs. The incredible city was fueled by incredible energy sources such as quantum energy, solar energy, and electricity energy. This incredible neutral city became inequality for humans and faunas, unlike the corruption that was happening across the Four Kingdoms. At the fancy penthouse of Jaune Kioya doing some paperwork, until he heard knocking coming from his door. Jaune Kioya, coming in. Blex Forer, an ambassador for AEUG, walked into the room. Jaune Kioya, is there something you need, Blex Forer? Blex Forer, one of our men that were in Vale overheard about massive dust shipment in the Vale harbor tomorrow, and the White Fang gonna raid it. Jaune Kioya, yes, I want myself inside of Scopadog AG Custom, Almatando G, Kane Wakaba pilot of Dragonar -1, Tap Oceano pilot of Dragonar 2 and Kiriko Kuvi pilot of ATM-09DD Burglaridog for the assignments. Blex Forer, right away sir, preparing for the operation tomorrow. Time skip tomorrow. Vale Harbor. Roman. Hey, what's the holdup? Roman. We're not exactly the most inconspicuous bunch of theft right now, so why don't you animal pick up the pace? Blake. This is not right, the White Fang would never work with a human, especially not one like that, Blake says as he jumps down. Son. Hey, what are you doing? Blake. Brothers and sisters of the White Fang, why do you work with a human like him? Roman. Hey, oh kid. Didn't you get the memo, kid? Blake. What are you talking about? Roman. The White Fang and I are going in on a venture business together. Blake. Tell me, what is our and your little operation? Then a turbine engine was heard. Roman. I won't call it a little operation. Roman raised his voice a little because the loud engine. Blake was surprised by the bullhead, it make him smirk because Blake was distracted. After that Roman fired his cane making Blake fly away. Roman then shot more rounds at her, but Blake dogged it, but one round hit her making her immobilized. Roman. Come here, kitty, kitty, kitty. As Roman moves toward Blake. But before he can do anything, a banana peel land on his hat making him look up, but he instantly gets kicked by Sun. Sun. Get away from her. Then the bullhead opened the cargo bay making many White Fang soldiers encircle them, then Blake hears someone says now. After that, a missile hit one of the bullheads making it fall to the ground. Then many soldiers showed up and killed the White Fang. Blake saw with horror in her eyes, and with Sun fighting Roman there is nothing she can do. Within the shadows came the blue mecha of Scopadog AG Custom piloted by Jaune Kioya, which he was wearing a mask on his face. Almatando G in his true form transform his left arm into a blue revolver gun gauntlet, killing off many of the White Fang grunts. Kane Wakaba pilot of Dragonar -1 and Tap Oceano pilot of Dragonar 2 firing their weapons directly at many of the bullhead that had the White Fang were burned to ashes in the explosion. Kane Wakaba. Comms. Well, now talk about these aircrafts are kind of cheap equipment. Tap Oceano. Comms. Don't forget we still got some more left to take care of. The White Fang were fighting back, but because their enemy is more advanced it only makes a dent on their armor. Some of the White Fang are surrendering, but some continue the resistance. Roman seeing this goes to one of the bullheads and flee. After the engagement, the forces of SunRise rounded up the surrendered ones and tied them together. Blake, who saw the engagement, are shocked and horrified at what she saw. Then Blake saw a soldier saluting and reporting to look like an officer. She quickly goes there and starts ranting about the fight. Blake. Why you killed them? Blake says with a furious tone. Jaune Kioya. Because they all are terrorists. Jaune Kioya says with a voice change so he won't be recognized. Blake. But they are just misguided. Blake. Where do you think you gonna go? Blake angrily asks them. Jaune Kioya. I don't have time for this, get out of the way, with an annoyed tone. Blake. No. Jaune Kioya was getting a bit annoyed. Even more got out of this Mac and was wearing the mask covering his face, walked up directly to Blake and slapped her in the face, which made her shock and cleaning Sun as well as say something but decide not to. Blake. What was that for? Jaune Kioya. You say you wanted to bring equality, but you're nothing but a coward, a hypocrite, would actually hide who you really are and watch other people suffer. The only thing I can see is that that's called hypocrisy. Blake. What would you know about me? Jaune Kioya. What about John Ark? Blake was completely shocked and speechless at what this man said about John Ark. Blake. What about him? John Kioya. Oh, please don't give me any of your bullshit lies. You're the one who actually betrayed him and left him to die. Blake wasn't unable to say a word and felt tears coming from her face, remembering she was the one who betrayed John. After all, she was also the one who also faked her way into Beacon, and that she was also a former White Fang member. John Kioya. How come you get to go scot-free while the young man himself had to suffer and betrayed by the people he considered friends just like you? I was going to save him from the Horde of Grimm, but it was too late. He died, and his blood was on your hands. He dead because of you. Blake bursting into a sobbing mess, remembering the flashbacks of John being betrayed and harassed by everyone including her team and was kicked out of Beacon Academy. Kiriko Kuvi comms, Sir, police officers are heading this way. John Kioya. Alright, guys, let's get out of here. After saying that John and his unit get out of there, not long after they are gone, the police arrive with Team RWY. Ruby. Blake, you don't know how worried we are. Yang. Yeah, and what happened here? Blake. The White Fang gonna steal the shipment. I and Sun tried to stop them, but we are slowly losing because they brought so many here. Then they came. Weiss. Who? Blake. SunRise. Blake. They come here and killed everyone in here without taking any injuries. They killed without any remorse or mercy. They just shot them with brutality. Blake remembered what John Kioya Kisugi said to her, calling her a coward, hypocrite, and for betraying John, that she also faked her way into Beacon Academy, and she starts to have a mental breakdown. Meanwhile, Sun was interviewed by the police because he was one of the witnesses who saw the slaughter by the unknown force. The police were shocked by the power of the unknown force and were scared because of what destruction they can be brought to the city. Chapter 7. In the aftermath of the skirmish Vale Harbor, RWBY among Side Sun returns to Beacon Academy. Blake explained to Ozpin encountering the military forces of SunRise and told him that one of the forces knew about John Ark's death. Ozpin was rather surprised that this unknown military force knew about John. Blake didn't have the proper words to say anything, feeling a lot of guilt and that he was trying to save John from the Grimm until he died. Ozpin had a face of empathy and somewhat a soft smile to realize that the leader of the military group of SunRise cared for John. Blake had nothing else to say and left to her team's dorm. Ozpin looked outside the window of his office, seeing the sunrise. It was thinking about who exactly these people were and what they wanted. Ozpin. To himself, just, who are you people? Back at Nexus SunRise Metropolis. At John Kioya Kisugi was in his penthouse and was drinking some nice green tea. Intel Professor Hiroshi Amano and Leo Shishio, the two greatest geniuses who created the artificial sentient robots. John Kioya. Is there something wrong? Professor Hiroshi Amano and Leo Shishio. Professor Hiroshi Amano. Many of our spies in the Kingdom of Vale have heard that was heading Atlas and its military forces are coming to Vale. John Kioya. I see this may cause a bit of a problem for us and for our operations. Leo Shishio. What exactly is the best course of action for us? John Kioya. Send in your best AI robot disguised as vehicles in the city. Just make sure that it will not be spotted by local law enforcement Atlas Army, including the Huntsman and Huntress. Professor Hiroshi Amano. If that is what you wanted, then we will do as you requested. The two geniuses left Depend's house and were ready to give the assignment to the AI robots. John Kioya Kisugi walked outside the window at the city of his metropolis that he built, took another sip of his green tea. John Kioya. To himself, this is going to be a bit of a problem for us. Atlas is so arrogant that they're actually going to use our technology for your selfish ambitions. Back at Beacon Academy, Team RWBY Drom. Blake wasn't doing so well for herself, seeing that she had a lot of horrible stuff as a member of the White Fang, and Noi also that she was one of the person who tormented John. Blake always continued having nightmares of John and Kioya Kisugi calling her a coward, nothing more but a person who runs away, not even helping anyone, leaving people to suffer and die. Always waking up having cold sweat on her face and nothing more but having guilt and shame for everything she had done to John. The rest, the members of RWBY, have also felt nothing more of a guilt and sorrow for what they have done. Ruby Rose, the team leader of RWBY, and always felt that she failed the big time for bullying and tormenting her first friend she made. Yang was even more angry and started lashing out at herself and anyone else who mentions John's name. Weiss' grades started plummeting down in the ground, however she was able to focus on most of the work. For Team NPR wasn't feeling the same after when they were the ones who betrayed John Ark and didn't care if he died. Pyrrha, the greatest champion, started to get it's sloppy during combat fights and losing fights from her opponents. Nora was more of a sobbing mess and felt not the same person as before, not even eating any pancakes. Ren felt like he considered John as a brother too, but now that he was dead he felt like that he was the one who completely screwed up everything. At the city of Vale, many of the undercover agents of SunRise were able to actually not be noticed my name as a law enforcement, and that Atlas army were clueless, seen that they're clueless not even knowing who they are. Many of the undercover agents were able to hack into the network, seen that this security system inside the network was kind of pathetic compared to the stuff on Earth was way more better. Undercover agents male number 1. God damn, the security for the network is kind of pathetic. Undercover agents male number 2. I know, saying that they called themselves the greatest technological city in all of Remnant, what a joke. Undercover agents male number 4. I agree, the security systems that we have on Earth are way better and also have firewalls. Undercover agents male number 5. About the stuff Atlas sells is nothing more but a bunch of cheap scrap. Undercover agents male number 7. No shit that these idiots would actually think that they're all superior and technologically advanced, but instead they never even developed a way to go into space. After a few seconds of chatting and choking, the download was 100% complete. Undercover agents male number 8. Hey look, it's done. Undercover agents male number 1. Let's take a look at everything what we got here. Many of the undercover agents we will take a look at the downloaded files, including about the mechs and robots from Atlas such as the AKs and the Paladins. Undercover agents male number 1. What the fuck is this thing? Is it some kind of mecha? Because it looks kind of bulky and nothing more about a bunch of cheap scrap iron. Undercover agents male number 4. No shit, even the mobile suits we have are way more superior compared to this so-called Paladin. Undercover agents male number 6. Yeah, not to mention these robots known AKs, a case, seriously nothing more but a bunch of cheap knockoffs that are not even good compared to our transforming robots. Undercover agents male number 1. Anyway, I think we're done. Look at the files, maybe we should try and send this back to headquarters. Undercover agents male number 3. Yeah, I certainly seems the boss would rather hear about this. Undercover agents male number 9. Hold on a second, guys. Undercover agents male number 1. What is it? Undercover agents male number 9. There's a report about Roman Torchwig stole one of those paladins. Undercover agents male number 1. Seriously, and those Atlas fools not realize that one of their mechs have been stolen? Seriously, what a crappy way for a bunch of useless buffoons of soldiers not even doing their jobs right. Undercover agents male number 5. When is this happening? Undercover agents male number 9. It's happening sometime on a Saturday at a White Fang rally for new recruits. Undercover agents male number 1. Good, send that information directly to him as well. Besides, let's move out. Many of the undercover agents left the CCT that was part of Beacon Academy without anyone noticing who they were. Chapter 8. At Nexus SunRise Metropolis. Many humans in fondness were getting along, a city that is actually full of equality. John Kyoya Kisugi was at his office in his penthouse, realizing that Ozpin, including Atlas, would find out. John Kyoya Kisugi. I wonder how exactly the undercover agents are doing in Vale. Until he heard a ringing from his phone of his office. He picked up the phone, and from the other side of the call came one of the undercover agents in the Kingdom of Vale. John Kyoya Kisugi. To undercover agent on the phone. Yes, any updates on the Kingdom of Vale? Undercover agent. To John Kyoya Kisugi on the phone. Yes, there has been a few updates. For example, Atlas is here in the Kingdom of Hell with the general known as General James Ironwood. That also that one of their so-called Max has been taken by the White Fang and Roman Torchwig. John Kyoya Kisugi. To undercover agent on the phone. No wonder Atlas is failing with shitty. Anything else? Undercover agent. To John Kyoya Kisugi on the phone. Unfortunately, yes sir, there is a matter of Team RWBY. It's also getting themselves involved, which also lead to many civilian casualties. John Kyoya Kisugi. To undercover agent on the phone. God damn it, those fucking idiots. I will send in myself inside of AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum. Volfog, robot whose humanoid form transforming police robot, Noah Izumi, pilot of AV-98 Ingram, and group of humans and Faunus pilots of AV-98 Ingram and AV-02 Valiant to assist any of the civilians that might actually get hurt in the crossfire. Undercover agent. To John Kyoya Kisugi on the phone, Roger, that I'll keep any further updates in the future. John Kyoya Kisugi. To undercover agent on the phone, good to hear. As to call ended, John Kyoya Kisugi heading towards the hangar bay of every single different kind of super robots ready for combat gotten into his personal mobile suit. AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum launched heading towards the Kingdom of Vale. At Vale Highway, Team RWBY, a group of idiotic hypocrites, led Roman Torchwick pilot Atlas Paladin causing mayhem and destruction. As John Kyoya Kisugi piloted his AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum, he couldn't help but think about how he's been in similar situations before, but this time, he's not alone. He has his trusty mobile suit, his skills as a pilot, and his determination to protect the innocent. Meanwhile, at the Vale Highway, Team RWBY was causing chaos and destruction, with Roman Torchwick piloting the Atlas Paladin. The team was made up of Ruby Rose, Weiss Schnee, Blake Belladonna, and Yang Xiaolong, all of whom were oblivious to the danger that was heading their way. John Kyoya Kisugi's AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum appeared on the horizon, its advanced sensors and scanners picking up the destruction caused by Team RWBY and Roman Torchwick. John Kyoya Kisugi. To himself, time to put an end to this nonsense. Volfog, Noah Izumi pilot of AV-98 Ingram, and squadron of humans and Faunus pilots of AV-98 Ingram and AV-02 Valiant protect many of the civilian were injured in the crossfire. All. Yes, sir. As Team RWBY alongside the two members of SSSN, Sun and Neptune, trying to stop Roman Torchwick from causing more man of piloting the Atlas Paladin, but in reality they're the ones causing more casualties and property. Yang with Neptune on her bike trying to stop the Atlas Paladin only for a few cars had civilians in them was caused by many of the squadron of AV-98 Ingram and AV-02 Valiant piloted by humans and Faunus. Neptune. What the hell are those things? Yang. I have no idea. Weiss did not know. Hey Weiss, did Atlas send more fancy mecha and also kind of like police types? Weiss was also surprised by seeing these new police mecha. This wasn't something Atlas created. The squadron of AV-98 Ingram and AV-02 Valiant were gently placing many of the civilian cars on the concrete ground. Even Roman Torchwick, who was piloting the Atlas Paladin, was surprising by the unknown machines. Until John Kyoya Kisugi piloting the AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum grabbed the shoulder of the stolen at Lost Spout Atlas Paladin using the thrusters of the Gundam to fly from location. Ruby. Hey, Yang. Is that guy working for Roman? Blake. I don't think so. Weiss. What makes you think that? Blake. I think you should see that. Team RWBY and the two members of SSSN, Sun and Neptune, look up TP the sky to see AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum using its beam saber cutting Atlas Paladin in half, killing Roman Torchwick within, for the machine to explode, killing the thief permanently. Ruby. He killed him. Weiss. But why would he do that? We were trying to stop it. Blake had a mixed emotion. She can help her have a feeling that this machine that was flying up in the air almost had an energy of heroics and soldier. Neptune. I know he might have killed the bad dude. I meant that machine if it's pretty cool. Yang. But still, he could have at least. The squadron of AV-98 Ingram and AV-02 Valiant piloted by humans and Faunus and aimed their weapons directly at Team RWBY and the two members of SSSN, Sun and Neptune, to their surprise. Male Faunus pilot of AV-98 Ingram. Comms, put your hands up immediately. You have committed in illegal vigilantiness that also put people in harm's way. Yang. Angry. What the hell did we do? Male human pilot of AV-98 Ingram. Comms, for one who are violated the speeding limits and not all, so that innocent civilians have also got in the crossfire. Ruby. Defensive, but we were trying to stop Roman. John Kyoya Kisugi pilot of AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum. Comms. Oh, really trying to protect the people or use them as human shields? Blake was completely quiet, couldn't help but had her cat ears hearing the voice almost sounded so much familiar to John. Blake. Whispering to herself, that voice, could it be John? Weiss. Oh really, why did you have to kill him? John Kyoya Kisugi pilot of AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum. Comms. For one, we are soldiers and we have way more experience. One of the pilots of AV-02 Valiant was a female human pilot giving a status report to John Kyoya Kisugi pilot of AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum. Female human pilot of AV-02 Valiant. Comms. Commander Kyoya Kisugi. We have casualty with ports of many kids that lost their parents, not to mention there are some that have lost their arms and legs, some that are crippled. RWBY and the 2 members of SSSN, Sun and Neptune, were completely shell-shocked by the information. Ruby Rose kneels down on the ground, tears coming out of her eyes, unable to know that she completely screwed up. Jaune Kyoya Kisugi, pilot of AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum, heard a baby crying that got the others' attention. A female Fox Faunus pilot of AV-98 Ingram had a baby red panda Faunus gently holding with its mech hand. Female Fox Faunus pilot of AV-98 Ingram, comms Commander Kyoya Kisugi, we have found this young infant that was luckily not injured, but the mom and father died in the car crash. RWBY and the 2 members of SSSN, Sun and Neptune, felt even more guilt and regret for their dumbass actions that caused many lives, including many children that lost their parents, realizing that they have fucked up big time. Jaune Kyoya Kisugi, pilot of AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum, comms calling for a few evacuation transports to take many of the people that are injured that need medical insurance, including many of the kids that are orphans. Sometime later, a group of 3 C-88 Medea landed at 2 locations where a group of Federation soldiers, Londo Bell soldiers, and AEUG soldiers and medical personnels taking care of many of the injured personnels on board the airship. One of the kids that was an orphan that lost her mom glared at TMRWBY and grabbed a stone and threw it directly at Ruby. Yang got angry at the kid who threw the rock at her young sister and was ready to beat up the kid until many Federation soldiers, amongst the other soldiers, pointed their weapons directly at her. Federation soldier number 2, quit its fireball unless you want to cause a scene or end up in prison. Londo Bell soldier number 3, I agree, a person like you that acts like more of a loose cannon instead of a proper huntsman. Faunus kid number 1, these people are no heroes, my mom was killed because of you. Ruby Rose didn't come with any excuses, also felt even more hurt thinking that she was trying to be a hero and now some people turning against her, making her realize that she had messed up even bad, witnessing first time that the world of reality hit her like a slap to the face. Blake did not say a word, I just looked down with sorrow and shame, realizing that she's nothing more of a coward who couldn't confess to her own truth in their past, making her realize that she has done nothing more but hurt others instead of helping them. As many of the last of the group entered the ship, the group of 3 C-88 Medea taking flight off towards Nexus SunRise Metropolis. Alongside Jaune Kyoya Kisugi, pilot of AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum, and in this group of police officer mobile suit units moved out of the scene not to get spotted by Atlas. Team RWBY and the 2 members of SSSN, Sun and Neptune, depressed, realizing the biggest mistake that they have made and decided to go back to Beacon Academy. Chapter 9. At Beacon, Ozpin office. Ozpin was arguing with that of the military general of Atlas, Ironwood. Ironwood. To Ozpin, this unknown military force was here. Ozpin. To Ironwood, I know how you feel, but we can't recklessly. Ironwood. To Ozpin, why not, we should actually share their technology, Atlas. Ozpin. To Ironwood, may I remind you that we barely have a slight clue on exactly who is leading this army. Ozpin knew that it was actually John Arc, part of the unknown military group. Ironwood. To Ozpin, find in my military army, will make sure to keep an eye on out for those unknown military groups. Sometime later, many of the undercover agents of SunRise was able to be staff members of Beacon Academy, such as janitor and chefs. Ozpin was rather surprised by these new individuals of people willing to be hired, seeing that there has been some mess and he needed some janitors and some chefs in the cafeteria. Many of Beacon students were runners, surprised at the dish the new cooks made. I didn't seem to be from Atlas or Mistral or from any other kingdom, but it tasted very good. Sometime later, it was the day of the dance. And when the moment the dance has begun, many people started dancing. When the undercover janitor that was cleaning the top floor of the CCT, he heard the elevators opening only to see a woman dressed in black with a mask. She was all attacked, the enchanted, or not even realizing that he was an undercover agent of SunRise. As Cinder, in her disguise, tried to use her fire ability of the Fall Maiden's power, only to be tasered by the janitor that was an undercover agent. Janitor undercover agent, that was easy. The janitor/undercover agent heard the elevator door opening and decided to actually hide the unconscious Cinder directly somewhere. The elevator doors opened to reveal Ruby Rose with Crescent Rose in hand, surprised that there was no one here except for the janitor, and that was mopping the place. Ruby. I could have sworn there was someone here. Janitor undercover agent. To Ruby Rose, is there something wrong? Ruby. To janitor undercover agent, no, but I just want to die. I saw a suspicious person who might have actually gone up to the CC tower. Janitor undercover agent. To Ruby Rose, well then you should hurry up and get back to the dance. Besides, you must probably be seeing things. Ruby. To janitor undercover agent, yeah you're probably right. As Ruby Rose wearing her dress left the CCC tower, janitor undercover agent grabbed Cinder who was in a restraint and was gagged in the mouth. Janitor undercover agent. On comms, this is undercover 1, hurry up and send in C-88 Medea. A few minutes later, C-88 Medea hovering up in the air on top of the CCC tower for the ramp to lower only for a group of 4 Federation soldiers taking Cinder into custody. Only she tried to fight back only for one of them to actually tranquilize her with a sleeping dart enough for her to be knocked out. Sometime later, C-88 Medea arrived back at Nexus SunRise Metropolis. Cinder Fall was taken into an interrogation room and was tortured mentally and physically, until they feel special device was able to be created to take the Fall Maiden's power away from her and was able to spill the beams on a secret White Fang base located in Mountain Glen. Cinder was going to take back half of the following you made its power only to be shot in the head and was dead for her body to be burned. Sometime later, at Mountain Glen, many airships approached the place of X-4FFS-3 Saberfish used as bombers to bombard the area, killing off many of the White Fang. Alongside mobile suits and mechas of X-4FFS-3 Saberfish X-5RGM-79 NGM Custom, X-3RMS-099 Rick Diaz, X-4RMS-179 GM2, X-3ATH-02 DTC Rapidly Dog Type S, X-3ATH-10 ST Grandly Dog, X-3ATH XHSW Trial Guerrilla humans and Faunus that were piloting these super robots landing on the ground when they found underground base of the White Fang, killing off many of the White Fang members and also destroying the train that had the dust. Faunus male pilot of ATH-02 DTC Rapidly Dog Type S number 2, on comms. Well, since the intel was right about this being a secret White Fang base. Human female pilot of RGM-79 NGM Custom number 3, on comms, so it certainly seems a mission here is a complete. Faunus male pilot of RMS-179 GM2 number 6, on comms, I agree, mission complete of saving Vale from the breach. Human female pilot of RGM-79 NGM Custom number 8, on comms, and I'm guessing that we're going to make this place our new base of operation. As many of the military forces from SunRise was able to wrangle up every single last one of the members of the White Fang that actually surrendered peacefully while also dismantling the train. And capturing Neapolitan as some prisoners to behold it off by in the maximum security system prison in the metropolis of Sunrise City. Faunus female pilot of ATH-10 ST Grantley Dog number 8, okay, it certainly seems our mission here is done. Human male pilot of ATH-XHSW Trial Guerrilla number 6, on comms, all units begin to secure an evacuation point immediately. And just like that, a horde of Grim came directly towards many of the super robots from SunRise. However, they didn't stand a chance against their heavy firepower. And just in time a group of Garuda class as many of the mobile suit pilots inside their mobile suits getting alongside many the prisoners as Garuda class begin to take off into the sky. Chapter 10, at Nexus SunRise Metropolis. At John Kiyoya Kisugi was in his penthouse and was drinking some nice green tea. He was able to get the reports of the operation happen in the mountain was a success. John Kiyoya Kisugi, to himself, well, at least my men were able to do a pretty good job of taking down Roman Torchwick's secret operation. Then John Kiyoya Kisugi was ready for a broadcast to introduce himself for the whole world to make an announcement. John Kiyoya Kisugi, to himself, props like you had to make an announcement for the whole planet of Remnant to consider it more of an international kind of announcement. John Kiyoya Kisugi got up from his chair, stretching his arms and was walking out of the penthouse of his office. A few days later, across the 4 different kingdoms of Remnant, as a familiar blonde hair wearing a mask was shown across the 4 kingdoms of Remnant on every single screen, rather beyond the big screens are television, scrolls, computers or others. John Kiyoya Kisugi, hello people of Remnant, my name is Kiyoya Kisugi, and I am part of the army known as SunRise. Sure, as many of the people of Vale knowing about our existence already because of the incident that happened on the highway. Of a certain team of reckless huntsmen putting the lives of the civilians in danger. In the kingdom of Atlas. Atlas civilian number 1, who is that person? Atlas civilian number 4, what's up with the mask? Trying to hide some scars or something? Atlas civilian number 6, oh yeah, I overheard. that he's nothing more than some kind of person who's always a fan of those freaks. Atlas Civilian number 7. Certainly seems so. Not to mention that tech is way more advanced, that we Atlas are superior. As many of the Atlas civilians wanted to declare war against the people of SunRise. In the kingdom of Mistral. Mistral Civilian number 1. Well, certainly seems that guy doesn't seem to be look like much of an Atlas person. Mistral Civilian number 6. No kidding. His uniform is black also. So wearing that mask who makes him look like someone might actually have a bit of a grudge against the kingdom itself. Or maybe all 4 of them. Mistral Civilian number 3. Well, he's not wrong about some of Huntsman putting the civilian in danger. Mistral Civilian number 7. Yeah, I did heard about the news about the highway incident that happened in the city of Vale. Mistral Civilian number 5. So there must be some kind of private army working the shadows or vigilantes. In the kingdom of Vacuo. Vacuo Civilian number 13. Well, it certainly seems that he's kind of a tough guy. Vacuo Civilian number 1. A tough guy piloting machine. Vacuo Civilian number 10. Though I have to admit he's very good of a strategist. Vacuo Civilian number 19. Still, let's listen to what he has to say. At the island known as Menagerie, Sienna Khan, current leader of the White Fangs, also listening to the broadcast and was rather amused by this person known as Kiyoya Kisugi, seemed that he was more showing equality and not prejudice against Faunus. White Fang number 2. Sienna, do you think that they could be a threat? White Fang number 11. No way. No, it will actually accept offering by people like them. White Fang number 4. Yeah, they could probably be another part of Atlas. White Fang number 5. No way. We ain't trusting people like them. White Fang number 4. Not to mention, many of the brothers and sisters are the White Fang in that the city of Vale were also killed off by them. White Fang number 20. Not to mention something we're also taking in as prisoners. White Fang number 10. Yeah, I bet they'll try to torture them or worse, really hurt them even more. White Fang number 13. Sienna, what exactly is we can do? Sienna, enough. White Fang number 2. Miss Sienna. Sienna. They don't seem to be type of people I would be prejudiced against Faunus. White Fang number 10. But, Sienna, I do not want to hear any excuses. Time being, let us observe what this new army can do. As many of the White Fangs who were actually loyal to Adam, but some were actually still loyal to Sienna, known that the army of SunRise aren't actually much of a threat and not even prejudice against Faunus. Back with the broadcast, John Kiyoya Kisugi, and you all might be thinking I'm not a man who's prejudiced against Faunus. In fact, some of my soldiers are actually Faunus. In the city that I have built, rather if you're human or Faunus, we treat everyone here with equality. I will not allow prejudice or racism to happen. Not also that I was able to kill the so-called criminal known as Roman Torchwick, who by the way was able to hijack one of Atlas's greatest tech known as the Paladin. John Kiyoya Kisugi showing images of Roman Torchwick having stolen one of the Atlas Paladins, making the people Atlas shocked to see the infamous thief, including James Ironwood. Also shocked and disbelief as well. John Kiyoya Kisugi. To be honest, the people of Atlas are so incompetent of doing their job properly that they allow a thief such as Roman to get away with one of those mechs. Who can we be sure that they might actually add more of them stolen? How Atlas security is. Nothing more but incompetent and nothing more but cheap hardware. Many of the people of the kingdom of Atlas felt their own pride and ego been stabbed by a knife after they've gotten a slap by the face by this person. John Kiyoya Kisugi. Not also that many of the other kingdoms of Remnant don't care for many of the so-called small villages that were under attack by Grimm or the White Fang, bandits or any other threats. That is why we are here to help the people, that our army is a symbol of the future for every living race on the planet, that we show true hope. Ozpin, who was listening to this, couldn't help but smile and be proud of John Ark, seeing that he know who exactly he was grown up to become more of a mature ideology figure. John Kiyoya Kisugi. I know that this isn't the actual easy, but still this planet, this society itself we live in today has its own flaws and corruption. As many people across the different kingdoms couldn't help but also think that maybe he's right, while others who are arrogant didn't care as much. John Kiyoya Kisugi. That is why I'm also a chief commander and headmaster of the academy known as SunRise Academy. This academy isn't just like any ordinary huntsman or huntress's academy. This academy is built, not just to train heroes, but people who are good at cooking, people who wanted, soldier to pilot some of our super robots, or becoming a race car professional in racing. As Jaune Kyoya Kisugi showing the academy known as SunRise Academy, seeing way more advanced, the bigger compared to any of the other Four Kingdoms academies. Not also that it showed many different classes such as the cooking classes of culinary being a hero in heroics class, being a soldier piloting one of those super robots such as mobile suits and other kinds of super robots, and driving some kinds of cars to be part of our racer class such as Formula 1 cars and sports cars racing in different kinds of tracks. As the people who are seeing SunRise Academy was rather amazed that there were different kinds of courses unlike their own academy courses, just being huntsman which almost felt and jealous, which others thought about being a race car driver almost felt like a dream to come true. Jaune Kyoya Kisugi, but hear me people of Remnant, consider this as more like as an intervention, that we fight for the people's freedom and hope and beliefs. As a broadcast from Jaune Kyoya Kisugi came to an end, as many of the people across the Four Kingdoms started talking amongst each other. What exactly should I do? Should they go to this city of SunRise Academy or become huntsmen and huntresses amongst side their own academies? Chapter 11, Location, Atlas, General Ironwood's private office. Time, 3 days after the SunRise broadcast. The office was dark. Ironwood hadn't bothered with the lights. He sat behind his desk, the cold metal of his right hand pressing dents into a crushed report. Paladin unit stolen. Roman Torchwick deceased. SunRise Academy classified as a foreign military power. His jaw ached from clenching. Damn them. Damn Kisugi. Damn that floating city of traitors and runaways. If he had their technology, real technology, not Atlas's hand-me-down prototypes, he could protect Remnant. Not just the kingdoms, everyone. The Grim, the White Fang, Salem herself, none of it would matter. He stood and walked to the window. Below, Atlas sparkled like a frozen jewel. Beautiful, fragile. Ironwood. Lo, to himself, if I had that power, I wouldn't stop at Remnant. I'd take it to the stars. No more threats, ever. From the corner of the room, where the shadows pooled thickest, a voice answered. Then perhaps I can arrange that. Ironwood spun, his sidearm already drawn, barrel pointed at the darkness. His other hand slammed a switch on his desk. Nothing. The lights stayed dead. The comms stayed silent. Ironwood. Who's there? Show yourself. A man stepped out of the shadow like it was a curtain. He was older, with long white hair and a face carved by war. He wore a dark outfit embroidered with red, and around his waist, a cloth stained with what looked like old blood. He didn't carry a weapon. He didn't need one. His smile was sharp enough. Master Asia, of the Gundam Fight Tournament. Though I suspect that title means nothing to you. Ironwood. You're from SunRise. Kisugi's people. Master Asia. Chuckles. No, General. I am from nowhere that exists on your maps. But I am someone who recognizes ambition when he sees it. Ironwood didn't lower the gun. What do you want? Master Asia raised his empty hands, palms open. You want power. True power. Not the rusted toys Atlas builds. Not the borrowed light of the maidens. Absolute power. He took a step closer. The gun followed him. I can give you that. But it will cost you. Ironwood. What cost? Master Asia's smile didn't waver. Your humanity. Piece by piece. Machine by machine. Until you are no longer James Ironwood, but something more. A long silence. Then Ironwood's gun hand lowered. Just an inch. Ironwood. Show me. Master Asia extended his hand. Ironwood didn't take it. Not yet, but he walked toward the shadow the old man had emerged from. Behind them, on Ironwood's desk, the crushed report stirred in a wind that wasn't there. Location. SunRise Academy, Training Hall D. Same time. The air cracked with impact. Kyoya Kisugi slid backward across the polished floor, his boots leaving black streaks. Across from him, Allenby Beardsley dropped into a fighting stance, her green hair tied back, her knuckles wrapped in training tape. Sweat dripped from her chin. Allenby. You're hesitating again. Don't. Kyoya. I'm watching. There's a difference. She lunged. 3 strikes, high, low, faint, he blocked 2, caught her third wrist a hair from his throat. She grinned. Allenby. Better, but your left side drops when you're tired. Kyoya released her wrist and stepped back. Around them, other students trained in pairs. Humans. Faunus. A girl with wolf ears sparred against a boy with a cybernetic arm. In the corner, a cooking class student carefully plated a dish while a combat instructor timed her with a stopwatch. This is what I built, Kyoya thought. Not soldiers. People who can be more than one thing. He looked at Allenby. Again. She smiled and raised her fists. Location: the Land of Darkness, Salem's throne room. Same time. The seer Grimm's eye dimmed as the broadcast ended. Salem sat motionless on her obsidian throne. Around her, the shadows held shapes that didn't quite fit, visitors from other worlds, other wars. She had gathered them carefully. Each one hated SunRise as much as she did. To her right stood Anvilgado, his mechanical fingers tapping a slow rhythm on his thigh. To her left, a holographic display showed Dr. Watts examining a captured scrap of SunRise technology, a power cell that shouldn't exist. Salem. Anvil, you said you would find their source. Anvilgado. And I will. But this academy is not their only weapon. My scouts report movement in Atlas. Ironwood has made contact with something. Something old. Something that doesn't belong to Remnant. Salem's eyes narrowed. Another player. Anvilgado. Perhaps. Or perhaps a fool who will destroy himself before we need to lift a finger. From deeper in the shadows, a new voice, metallic, cold. A01. Underestimate no one. That was Kisugi's first mistake. It will not be ours. Salem rose from her throne. The temperature dropped. Salem. Then we move faster. Dr. Watts. Watts looked up from his examination. Yes, my lady. Salem. If Ironwood is building a machine army, let him. But ensure that when it wakes, it answers to us. Watts smiled. It was an ugly thing. Watts. With pleasure. Chapter 12. Location: SunRise Academy, Central Security Room. Time: 0600 hours. The alarms didn't just ring. They screamed. Red light washed over the operators as every monitor on the wall flickered to life, showing the same image: Atlas, burning. Not from Grimm, not from rioters, from something mechanical. Operator Mira Faunus, fox ears flattened against her skull. That's not possible. That's not ours. The lead operator, a veteran named Taggart, didn't hesitate. He grabbed the encrypted line. Taggart. Get Commander Kisugi. Now. Code Red Omega. Location: Kiyoya Kisugi's office. Same time. The tea had gone cold. Kiyoya stared at the main monitor, his reflection ghosting over the chaos below. The thing rampaging through Atlas was bipedal. Massive. Its frame pulsed with veins of black light, and where its shadow fell, machines converted, turrets turning on their own crews, paladins marching in twisted unison. He knew that silhouette. Kiyoya. Quietly, the Dark Gundam. Not a copy, not a prototype, the real thing. And inside it, laughing like a mad god, was the silhouette of a man in a white coat. James Ironwood. Kiyoya's hands gripped the edge of his desk. The wood creaked. He would never, Kiyoya thought. He was stubborn, arrogant, but he wasn't. The monitor zoomed in. Ironwood's face, twisted into something feral, filled the screen. His remaining human eye glowed with the same black light as the Gundam. Ironwood on broadcast, voice layered with static, look at me. I am no longer a general. I am a god of machine. You inferior insects, obey me. Kiyoya closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were cold. Kiyoya. Amuro. Domon. Launch now. Londo Bell Fleet. Full mobilization. I don't care how many ships it takes. Priority 1. Civilian evacuation. Priority 2. Put that thing down. Amuro Ray comms. Calm but tight, understood. High new Gundam launching in 90 seconds. Domon Kashu comms. Barely contained fury TCH. So that idiot actually did it. He embraced the Dark Gundam. Fine. I'll show him what real burning fingers feel like. Kiyoya stood and walked to the window. Below, the bay doors of SunRise Academy opened like a blooming flower. Ships rose, Ra Kalem, Argama, their hulls gleaming, and behind them, rows of mobile suits launched in perfect formation. He should be out there. Every fiber of his being wanted to be in the cockpit. But someone had to watch. Someone had to witness what ambition without humanity looked like. So others would never forget. Location: Atlas airspace, 3 hours later. Time: 0900 hours. The sky over Atlas was the color of a bruise. Smoke rose from half the city. The Dark Gundam stood in the center of the destruction, its head swiveling slowly, scanning for new things to consume. Citizens ran screaming. Atlas military bots, once protectors, now dragged civilians toward processing centers. And everywhere, the virus. Machines merging with flesh, flesh becoming machine. Domon's voice crackled over the tactical channel. Domon. I've got a shot at its core. Amuro, cover my approach. Amuro. Negative. Its particle field is too dense. You'll be swarmed. We need to crack the armor together. Domon. Then stop talking and shoot. The Londo Bell ships loosed their first volley. Not nuclear, not yet, not with civilians below, but high-yield missiles that burst against the Dark Gundam's shoulder. The machine staggered. Then it turned. Ironwood, through external speakers, distorted, "Ah. The insects have brought reinforcements. Good. More metal for my kingdom." Amuro's high new Gundam dropped from the clouds, its fin funnels spreading like wings. He fired the Mega Particle Cannon, a lance of pure light that carved a trench across the Dark Gundam's chest. Not deep enough. Domon's God Gundam landed on the Dark Gundam's other arm, gripping a massive cable. Domon. Hey, Ironwood, you wanted power. Let me show you what real power looks like. The God Gundam's hands began to glow. First gold, then white, then something beyond color. Domon. Shining. Finger. The attack didn't just burn. It purified. The Dark Gundam's black veins recoiled. The virus screamed, and in that split second of vulnerability. Amuro. Now, all units, fire. The high new Gundam's Mega Particle Cannon fired again. The God Gundam's shining finger pressed deeper. Behind them, 100 Jigans and Nemons added their firepower, a constellation of light aimed at one target. Inside the cockpit, Ironwood's laughter turned to a shriek. Ironwood. No, no, I am the god. You can't. The Dark Gundam's core ruptured. Light poured out of every seam. Then, with a sound like a world ending, it collapsed inward. Silence. The smoke cleared. Where the Dark Gundam had stood, there was only a crater, an ash. Location. Beacon Academy, Ozpin's office. Same time. Ozpin set down his empty mug. He hadn't blinked during the entire broadcast. Glinda stood beside him, her riding crop clutched tight enough to whiten her knuckles. Glinda. He was a fool. But he didn't deserve that. Ozpin. Quietly, no. He deserved to be stopped. Long before this, he looked at the frozen image of Ironwood's face, mad, glorious, lost. We all did. Location. Global broadcast, Kyoya Kisugi. 1 hour after the battle. Every screen on Remnant flickered. Not with the chaos of the battle this time, but with a single image, Kyoya Kisugi, standing in the ruins of Atlas's outer district. Behind him, rescue workers pulled survivors from the rubble, faunus and human alike. His mask was off. For the first time, the world saw his face. Young, tired, marked by scars that weren't all physical. Kyoya. People of Remnant. Look at what happened here today. The broadcast cut to footage. Ironwood laughing inside the Dark Gundam, Atlas military bots turning on their own citizens, half a city reduced to ash. Kyoya. James Ironwood wanted power. Not safety, not peace, power. He wanted to be worshipped. He wanted to be a god. A pause, and look at what it made him. A monster, a virus, a cautionary tale. He walked toward the camera. The wind pulled at his hair. Kyoya. I am not a god. I am not a king. I am a man who was betrayed, broken, and given a second chance. And I am telling you now, power does not make you right. Strength without wisdom is just destruction waiting to happen. He gestured to the rescue workers behind him. Kyoya. These are the real heroes. The ones carrying the wounded. The ones rebuilding. Not the generals. Not the politicians. Us. All of us, together, or not at all. He looked directly into the lens. Kyoya. Atlas will recover. Or it won't. That choice belongs to the people of Atlas. But know this. SunRise Academy will never bow to tyrants. Not Ironwood. Not Salem. Not anyone who thinks their ambition matters more than innocent lives. The broadcast ended. Chapter 13. Location. Atlas, 3 days after the fall. Time. Morning. The smoke had cleared, but the shame remained. Atlas cratered. Ironwood dead. Half the city's military infrastructure turned to slag by the very machines meant to protect it. And now, the world was watching. Kyoya Kisugi stood on the deck of the Ra Kalem, looking down at the reconstruction efforts below. Londo Bell engineers worked alongside Atlas survivors, human and faunus alike, though the faunus kept glancing over their shoulders, as if waiting for the other shoe to drop. Amuro Ray approached, his arms crossed. Amuro. The council is arguing about who takes Ironwood's seat. They're not going to decide before the vital festival. Kyoya. They don't have to. We're not waiting for permission. Amuro raised an eyebrow. You're going to defend Vale. Kyoya. I'm going to defend people. The festival is just where the threat will manifest. He turned away from the railing. Send word to Captain Izumi. I want the Patlabor units on every major street in Vale within 72 hours. And coordinate with Kotetsu's team. NEXT abilities could be useful if Salem sends anything unconventional. Amuro. You really think she'll move during the festival? Kiyoya. I know she will. Because that's what cowards do. They hide behind crowds and call it strategy. Location. Vale, the vital festival grounds. 4 days later. The streets of Vale were alive with color. Banners hung from every lamppost. Food stalls filled the plazas. Students from Atlas, Mistral, Vacuo, and Beacon mingled in uneasy but hopeful clusters. Above them, Patlabor units walked their patrol routes, massive, lumbering machines painted in police white and blue. In the skies, Jigans from Londo Bell traced slow circles. Captain Noah Izumi stood on a rooftop, binoculars pressed to her eyes. Her Patlabor, Alphonse, waited behind her in standby mode. Noah. Into comms, ground teams, report. Anything unusual? Voice comms, negative, Captain. Crowds happy, almost too happy. Noah lowered the binoculars. Happy crowds are easy to panic, she thought. And panic draws grim. She keyed the comm again. Keep your eyes open. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Location. Vale, alley near the docks. Same time, Neapolitan moved like a ghost. She had followed Kiyoya's trail for days, waiting, watching, her mind a storm of grief and rage. Roman's face, frozen in that final moment. The fire, the silence after the explosion. He killed him, he killed Roman, I'll make him pay. She slipped through the crowd, her umbrella tucked under her arm. Then, a hand on her shoulder. She spun, blade already extending from the umbrella's tip. Barnaby Brooks Jr. caught her wrist. Not hard, just firm. Barnaby. I wouldn't. Neapolitan's eyes went wide. She tried to pull free. His grip didn't budge. Barnaby. You're Neo, correct? Roman Torchwick's partner, associate, whatever you called yourselves. He looked at her, not with anger, but with something worse. Pity. You can't talk, can you? Neapolitan froze. Then she nodded, just once. Barnaby. That must be lonely. She didn't respond, couldn't respond, but her grip on the umbrella loosened. Barnaby. I'm not going to kill you. That's not what we do. But I am going to take you to someone who wants to talk to you. He released her wrist. You can come quietly, or I can carry you. Your choice. Neapolitan looked at the ground. Then at the Patlabor units in the distance. Then back at Barnaby's face, open, patient, unafraid. She lowered her umbrella. Location. SunRise Academy, holding wing. Next morning, the cell wasn't a cell. That was the first thing Neapolitan noticed. It was a room, bed, window, a small vase with a single flower. The door wasn't even locked. She sat on the edge of the bed, arms wrapped around herself. She had expected torture, interrogation, death. Not this. The door opened. Kiyoya Kisugi walked in, alone, unarmed. He carried a small cup of tea and a folder. He set the tea on the bedside table and sat in the chair across from her. Then he waited. Neapolitan opened her mouth, out of habit, out of frustration, and then stopped. Because sound came out. Neapolitan. Wah. She clapped her hands over her mouth. Her voice. It was scratchy, unused, like a door opening after years of rust. But it was there. Kiyoya. A temporary vocal restoration treatment. Courtesy of our medical division. It'll last about a week. Long enough for you to say what needs saying. Neapolitan stared at him. Her eyes were wet. Neapolitan. Whispering, why? Kiyoya. Because someone like you deserves to have a voice. She shook her head, disbelieving. I was going to kill you. I know. He didn't flinch. But I also know what it's like to lose everyone. To have the world take until there's nothing left but anger. He leaned forward. John Ark is dead. I killed him myself. The weak, the desperate, the fool who thought fame would fill the emptiness. I am Kiyoya Kisugi now. And Kiyoya Kisugi doesn't punish people for being broken. Neapolitan's breath hitched. Then, slowly, she slid off the bed and stood at attention. Not sarcastically, not defiantly, sincerely. She saluted. Kiyoya nodded. Then his expression shifted, sharper, more focused. Kiyoya. There's something else, isn't there? Something you came to tell me. Neapolitan swallowed. Her voice was still fragile, but she forced the words out. Neapolitan. The fall of Beacon. It's not just grim. Kiyoya. Go on, Neapolitan, Cinder, Emerald, Mercury, they're infiltrators, students, fake students, they're going to cause a disaster during the festival. Make the kingdoms turn on each other. And when the chaos starts, she met his eyes. Salem wins. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Kiyoya stood. Kiyoya. Emerald. Illusions, correct. Neapolitan nodded. Kiyoya. Then we build a countermeasure. Something that disrupts neural casting, stuns her before she can twist perception. He walked to the door, then paused. Neapolitan. She looked up. Kiyoya. You have a choice. Prison, or a new life here, SunRise Metropolis. Work, training, a purpose. He didn't look back. You don't have to answer now. But know that the offer stands. He left. Neapolitan sat back down on the bed. She picked up the tea. It was still warm. For the first time in years, she cried. Location. SunRise Academy, War Room. That evening, the table was crowded. Amuro Ray, Domon Kashu, Kutetsu Kaburagi, Wild Tiger, Barnaby Brooks Jr., Captain Noah Izumi, Kiriko Kuvi, silent and watchful in the corner, Kane Wakaba, Tap Oceano, and Light Newman, the Dragonar pilots. The Dagwan team, standing in a loose semicircle. Kiyoya stood at the head of the table. Behind him, a holographic display showed 4 faces: Cinder Fall, Emerald Sustre, Mercury Black, and a question mark where their unseen handler should be. Kiyoya. We have 72 hours until the Vital Festival finals. Neo's intel gives us a window. He tapped the display. Cinder is the architect. Emerald is the weapon. Her semblance creates hallucinations. Mercury is muscle. Kutetsu. So we arrest them before the festival. Kiyoya. No, if we move too early, Salem sends someone else. Someone we don't know. He looked around the table. We let them start their attack. And then. Domon grinned. Then we finish it. Amuro. What about the Grim? The moment panic hits, the hordes will come. Noah. Padlaber units on the perimeter. We hold the streets, give civilians time to evacuate. Kiriko spoke for the first time, his voice flat, and if Salem has a backup plan. Kiyoya met his eyes. Then we adapt. That's what heroes do. The room settled into focused silence. Plans were drawn, positions assigned. The clock began to tick. Outside the window, the lights of Vale glittered, innocent, unaware, waiting for a storm that hadn't yet arrived. Chapter 14. Location. SunRise Metropolis, Command Center. Time. 48 hours before the Vital Finals. The holographic chessboard floated in the center of the room. Kiyoya Kisugi stood before it, arms crossed, studying the pieces. White King. Beacon Academy. Black Queen. Cinder Fall. But scattered around the board were new pieces, ones Cinder didn't know existed. Londo Bell. Padlaber. The next heroes of Tiger and Bunny. The Dragonar pilots. The Dagwan team. Kiyoya. To himself, you think you're playing chess, Cinder. But you're playing checkers against a man who's already seen the endgame. He picked up a black pawn, marked with a stylized flame, and set it down on its side. Behind him, Adam Torres stood in the doorway. He wasn't in chains. He wasn't even disarmed. Kiyoya had given him a choice: talk or leave. Adam had chosen to talk. Adam. You're not what I expected. Kiyoya didn't turn around. What did you expect? Another Atlas? Another Ironwood? Adam. Something like that. He stepped into the room, his mechanical hand flexing at his side. The White Fang has done terrible things. I told myself it was for the cause. For equality. But watching Ironwood turn himself into a machine god. He paused. I saw my own reflection. Kiyoya finally turned. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Kiyoya. Then you know what comes next. Redemption isn't a word, it's work, every day, for the rest of your life. Adam nodded slowly. I know. Kiyoya. Good. Then start by telling me everything about Cinder's network. Every name, every hideout, every lie she's told. Adam pulled a data chip from his pocket and set it on the table. Adam. It's all there. Including the backup plan she doesn't know I discovered. Kiyoya picked up the chip. For the first time, he smiled, not with warmth, but with anticipation. Kiyoya. Then let's make sure her plan fails before it begins. Location. Beacon Academy, Courtyard. Next day, the Vital Festival had transformed Beacon into a carnival. Booths lined the walkways. Students laughed, traded pins, posed for pictures. Above them, Londo Bell's ships hung in the sky like silver sentinels, Ra-Kalem, Argama, and a half-dozen escort cruisers. Their shadows moved across the grass like slow, sleeping giants. But it wasn't just the warships. Paddlebar units walked the perimeter, Alphonse among them, Captain Noah Izumi riding in the cockpit with her hand resting on the controls. Firefighting mechs stood ready near the arena. Construction units had been repurposed as barricades. And everywhere, were the mobile suits. Rick Dias's eyes patrolled the skies above, their double mega beam guns gleaming in the afternoon light. Jigen stood guard at every major intersection. In the distance, a heavy Fork-class artillery platform sat parked outside the city walls, its massive cannons aimed at the tree line, ready to obliterate any Grim that dared approach. A group of Beacon students stared up at a passing Rick Dias. Student number 1, Vale, is that? Atlas Tech. Student number 2, Vacuo, no. Look at the markings. That's SunRise. The same guys who killed Ironwood. Student number 1. They saved Atlas. There's a difference. Student number 2 snorted. Tell that to the crater. Nearby, Team RWBY watched the same ships. Ruby's eyes were wide, not with fear, but with wonder. Ruby. They have spaceships. Actual spaceships. Weiss. Stiffly, my father is furious. He says SunRise is a rogue state. Blake. Your father also said Faunus belonged in labor camps. Forgive me if I don't trust his judgment. Yang grinned. She's got you there, Weiss. Weiss opened her mouth to retort, then stopped. Because walking toward them was a figure she recognized from every news broadcast. Kiyoya Kisugi. No mask, no entourage, just a black uniform and a quiet confidence. He stopped a few feet away and nodded. Kiyoya. Team RWBY. I've heard good things. Ruby. You're him. The SunRise guy. Kiyoya. I'm a SunRise guy. There are many. His eyes flicked to Blake. You're friends with Adam Torres's former lieutenant. Interesting. Blake tensed. If you're here to arrest me. Kiyoya. I'm here to warn you. All of you. His voice dropped. Tomorrow, during the finals, someone is going to try to tear this kingdom apart. My people will stop them. But when the chaos starts, you need to protect the civilians. Not the arena, not the glory, the people. Ruby straightened. We will. Kiyoya studied her for a moment. Then he nodded. Kiyoya. Good, because I'm trusting you with something I don't give lightly. Yang. What's that? Kiyoya. The truth. He walked away before they could ask more. Location. Beacon Academy, Cinder's hidden vantage point. Same time, Cinder Fall watched the ships through narrowed eyes. Beside her, Emerald shifted nervously. Mercury leaned against a wall, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Emerald. Cinder, this is bad. Those ships could level the entire kingdom. Mercury. Not, could, would, and they've got snipers everywhere. I've spotted at least 4 Overwatch positions just on this side of the arena. Cinder. Coldly, I'm aware. Emerald. Then what's the plan? Because right now, our plan looks like suicide. Cinder turned to face them. Her eyes burned, literally, with the faint glow of half-activated maiden powers. Cinder. We adapt. We have new allies. Ones even Salem doesn't know about. Mercury. You mean the people who also want SunRise destroyed? The ones who'd sell us out the second it's convenient? Cinder. I mean we use them as a distraction. While SunRise is busy fighting them, we complete the original objective. Emerald hesitated. And if they betray us? Cinder smiled. It was not a nice smile. Cinder. Then we betray them first. None of them noticed the glint of light from a nearby rooftop. A Londo Bell sniper, lying prone in a ghillie suit that blended perfectly with the stone, had his scope fixed on Cinder's chest. Sniper into comms, whisper, Bravo actual. Targets acquired, Flame, Emerald, and Mercury. Hold for orders. The response came a second later, Kiyoya's voice, calm and steady. Kiyoya, comms, hold. We don't move until they show their full hand. But keep the shot ready. Sniper. Copy. Standing by. Location. Vale outskirts, Grim perimeter. Same time, the Grim came in waves. Beowulfs first. Dozens of them, pouring from the treeline like black water. Then Ursai, their massive forms crashing through the undergrowth. And behind them, the distant screech of Nevermore. The heavy Fork-class artillery platform didn't wait. Boom, boom, boom. 3 shots, each shell the size of a small car. They landed in the treeline and erupted, not just with fire, but with some kind of energy pulse that made the Grim scream. The Beowulfs in the blast radius didn't just die. They dissolved. The 3 Rick-Dias-2 mobile suits advanced, their double mega beam guns spitting coherent light. Each shot punched clean through an Ursa's skull. Each burst swept across the field, cutting down rows of Grim like wheat. One of the pilots, a young Faunus woman with wolf ears, grinned inside her cockpit. Rick-Dias pilot Faunus, this is way better than Atlas training. Those guys couldn't hit the broadside of a Goliath. Second pilot, focus, more coming from the north. Third pilot, already on it. The 3 mobile suits moved in perfect synchronization, a dance of death that left nothing but ash and silence. Behind them, the Padlober firefighting units moved in, spraying some kind of foam that neutralized the grim residue. The construction mechs began rebuilding the perimeter walls before the next wave could arrive. From the deck of the Ra Kalem, Amuro Ray watched the display. Amuro, to himself, Ironwood thought he could match this with paladins. He shook his head. He never understood. It's not the machines, it's the people inside them. Location: SunRise Academy, Kyoya's office. Late night. The city was quiet. The festival would begin in earnest tomorrow. Kyoya sat at his desk, the data chip from Adam inserted into his terminal. Names scrolled past, locations, dates, conspiracies within conspiracies. He should sleep. He knew he should sleep. Instead, he pulled up a different file. One marked classified, eyes only. It was a picture, old, worn at the edges. Team JNPR. Beacon Academy, first year. John Ark stood in the back, smiling awkwardly. Pyrrha Nikos beside him, patient and warm. Ren and Nora, making silly faces. Kyoya stared at the image for a long time. Then he closed it. Kyoya whispered, "That man is dead. I killed him myself." He stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the lights of Vale. Somewhere out there, Cinder Fall was making her final preparations. Somewhere out there, Emerald was practicing her illusions. Somewhere out there, Salem was watching. Kyoya, come on, then. Let's see who blinks first. Chapter 15, Location: Vale Outskirts, Dawn. Time: 0800 hours, Vital Festival Finals Day. The sky turned red before the alarm sounded. Not sunrise red, fire red. On the horizon, a wall of metal moved toward Vale. Mobile suits, hundreds of them, emerged from the tree line in perfect formation. Neo Zeon's distinctive mono eyes gleamed. The Titan's heavy assault units followed behind. And in the front, marching like mindless soldiers, the Dark Army's Death Army suits stumbled forward in eerie synchronization. Behind them all, a mountain moved. The NRX-033 Matabiri. A mobile fortress the size of a city block. Its main cannon glowed with gathering energy. On the deck of the Ra Kalem, Amuro Ray's blood ran cold. Amuro. All hands. Battle stations. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Location: Vital Festival Grounds, civilians. Same time. The screams started slowly, then all at once. One moment, families were laughing, eating festival food, watching students spar. The next, the sky was full of beam fire and the ground was shaking. Captain Noah Azumi's voice boomed from every Padlober speaker. Noah, evacuate immediately. Follow the green lights to the bunkers. Do not run. Do not panic. Move. The Padlober units didn't fight. Not yet. They formed walls, metal barriers between the civilians and the chaos, and guided the crowds toward the emergency shelters SunRise had built beneath the city. A little girl stumbled. Her mother reached for her. A Death Army suit rounded the corner. Then Alphonse stepped between them. Noah. Over external speakers, not today. The Padlober's revolver cannon fired 3 rounds into the Death Army's chest. The machine staggered, then dissolved, its dark armor crumbling like ash. Noah didn't wait to watch. She grabbed the girl and her mother and pushed them toward the shelter entrance. Noah. Go, now. Location: Arena Roof, Team RWBY. Same time. Ruby's cape whipped in the wind. Below her, the city burned. Young. What the hell are those things? Blake. Mobile suits, but not SunRises. Look at the markings: Neo Zeon, Titans, and something else. Weiss. Something else. There's more. The Matabiri fired. The beam didn't strike the arena. It struck CCT Tower. The tower didn't collapse. It vaporized. Glass, steel, stone, all of it turned to light and then to nothing. The shockwave knocked Team RWBY off their feet. Ruby crawled to the edge and looked down. Where the tower had stood, there was only a smoking crater. And somewhere in that crater, Crescent rose, or what was left of it, a twisted scrap of metal that had been her scythe, her partner, her everything. Ruby whispered no. Yang grabbed her shoulder. Ruby, look at me, we can build another weapon. We can't build another you. Move. Ruby's eyes were wet, but she nodded. She ran. Behind them, the Matabiri fired again. This time, the shot hit the council building. Cardin Winchester's father had been inside, so had a dozen other councilmen, corrupt, yes, but still people. They didn't scream. There wasn't time. Location: above Vale, Londo Bell counterattack. Same time. Amuro's high new Gundam HWS dropped from the raw Kalem like a falling star. Amuro, all mobile suit teams, engage at will. Protect the evacuation routes first. Then kill everything with a mono-eye. The Jigans and Jettas fanned out, their beam rifles painting lines of light across the sky. Behind them, Camille's Zeta Gundam transformed midair, weaving between enemy fire. But it was Kyoya who struck first. The HIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum screamed across the battlefield, its Hyper-Dodds rifle Magnum spitting twin beams that cut through 3 Gaza Seas in a single pass. He didn't stop to celebrate. He didn't stop to breathe. Kyoya internal, this is what I trained for. Not glory, not revenge, this. He fired again. A Kubali exploded, a Dryson lost its arm. A Zaku 3 crumpled. But the Matabiri was still advancing. Amuro calms Kyoya, we need to bring that fortress down now. Kyoya, then bring it down. I'll cover you. Amuro, negative, you're the commander. You need to. Kyoya, I need to trust my people. Take the shot, Amuro. A pause. Then, Amuro, Londo Bell Fleet, fire everything. The Ra Kalem and Argama launched their full payload. Nuclear missiles streaked toward the Matabiri, their warheads gleaming. The fortress's point defense systems activated, but too slow. The first missile hit, then the second, then the third. The Matabiri's reactor went critical. The explosion was silent from a distance, a white flower blooming against the gray sky. When the light faded, the fortress was gone. So were 100 enemy mobile suits caught in the blast. The surviving Neo-Zeon and Titan forces began to retreat. Location: Beacon Academy, vault entrance. Same time. Cinder Fall ran. The plan was ruined. The Matabiri was ash, Emerald and Mercury were nowhere to be seen. But she could still win. If she could reach the Fall Maiden, if she could take the full power. She rounded the corner and stopped. 2 mobile suits stood in her path. The God Gundam, and the Impulse Gundam Lancier. Cinder, laughing, desperate, you think tin cans can stop me? She raised her hand. Fire gathered, maiden fire, hot enough to melt steel. The Impulse moved first, its beam lance extended, and Karuna, inside the cockpit, didn't hesitate. The lance sliced through Cinder's arm at the elbow. She screamed. The fire died. Domon's voice boomed from the God Gundam's external speakers. Domon, people like you, who use power to prey on the weak, are not warriors. You're cowards, and cowards don't get to win. The God Gundam's hand began to glow. Domon, shining. Cinder's eyes went wide. Wait, finger. The attack didn't kill her. Domon was careful for that. But it ended her. Her aura shattered. Her remaining limbs went limp. She collapsed, unconscious, in the shadow of 2 Gundams. Karuna calms, target subdued. Moving to secure. Domon, make sure those cuffs are tight. I don't want her waking up and burning a hole through the hull. Location: Vale Streets, ground level. Same time. The battle was winding down, but the Grim were still coming. Kotetsu Kubaragi, Wild Tiger, slammed his fist into an Ursus skull. It disintegrated. Beside him, Barnaby Brooks Jr. kicked a Beowulf into a wall. Kotetsu, how many is that? Barnaby, 37. You. Kotetsu, lost count. He grinned. Old age. Barnaby almost smiled. Then he saw a group of civilians trapped under rubble, and a death beast rounding the corner. Barnaby. Kotetsu. Now. Kotetsu's next power flared, 100 times strength. He caught the death beast mid-charge and threw it into the path of an oncoming Rick Dias's beam fire. The civilians were safe. Barnaby helped a Faunus woman to her feet. Can you walk? She nodded, trembling. Barnaby. Then follow the lights. Don't look back. Location: Beacon Tower, Ospen's office. 1 hour later. The battle was over. Vale was bruised, bleeding, but standing. Ozpin stood at his window, looking out at the smoke. Glinda stood behind him, her hand on his shoulder. Glinda, we lost the CCT. We lost half the council. But the city survived. Ozpin, because of him. He didn't say Kyoya's name. He didn't have to. I watched that boy fail his way through this academy. I watched him lie, cheat, and struggle. And now, he closed his eyes. Now he's saved us all. Glinda, he's not the same boy, Ozpin. Ozpin, no, he's not. A pause. I'm not sure if that's a tragedy or a triumph. Location: SunRise Academy, holding cells. Same time. Emerald sat in her cell, wrists bound in power inhibitor cuffs. Across the hall, Mercury paced like a caged animal. Neither of them had spoken in an hour. Then the door opened. Kyoya walked in, still in his pilot suit, helmet under his arm. His face was streaked with sweat and something that might have been blood. Emerald, come to gloat. Kyoya, no. He pulled up a chair and sat across from her cell. I came to ask you a question. Emerald, I'm not telling you anything. Kyoya, that's fine. My question isn't about Cinder. He leaned forward. It's about you. Why are you here, Emerald? Not in this cell. Here, on this path, following someone who would burn you alive the second you stopped being useful. Emerald's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. Kyoya stood. Think about it. I'll come back tomorrow. He left. The door closed. Emerald put her head in her hands and shook. Location: above Remnant, high orbit. Same time. The meteor wasn't a meteor. It was a pod, old, scarred, painted in faded red and gold. It drifted toward the planet's atmosphere, its heat shield already beginning to glow. Inside, a man with golden eyes and a mask that hid half his face sat perfectly still. Char Aznable. To himself, so. This is where the Omni God sent him. This, Remnant. He looked at a holographic image, Kyoya Kisugi, standing in front of the SunRise Academy flag. Char, you think you've built something new, boy. But I've seen empires rise and fall. I've seen ideals turn to ash. He smiled. It was not a kind smile. Let me show you what real revolution looks like. The pod entered the atmosphere. Behind it, the stars seemed to shift, as if something else was coming. Something larger. Chapter 16. Location: Vale, the crater. 3 days after the battle. The rain came down in sheets. It washed the ash from the streets. It filled the footprints of retreating mobile suits. It drummed against the temporary shelters that had sprung up overnight, canvas and salvage and stubborn hope. But it couldn't wash away the crater where the CCT tower used to stand. Ruby Rose stood at the edge, her hood pulled low. Her cloak clung to her shoulders, heavy with water. In her hands, she held a twisted piece of metal, the only part of Crescent Rose she had been able to find. A trigger housing, scorched, useless. Yang stood behind her, umbrella held awkwardly over both of them. Her mechanical arm gleamed dully in the gray light. Yang, we should get inside. The funeral's in an hour. Ruby, I know. Yang, Ruby, I know. Yang. She didn't turn around. Yang didn't push. She just stood there, umbrella trembling in the wind, and waited. Finally, Ruby tucked the trigger housing into her belt pouch. Ruby, let's go. Location: Vale, Memorial Garden. Later that day, the garden hadn't been a garden before. It had been a parking lot. But someone, Noah Izumi, according to the rumors, had ordered rows of white flowers planted overnight. Lilies. Hundreds of them. They swayed in the rain like ghostly mourners. Rows of folded chairs faced a simple podium. On the podium, a list of names. 281 confirmed dead. 47 missing. 1,203 injured. Cardin Winchester sat in the back row. His face was blank. His hands were folded in his lap. He hadn't spoken since they told him about his father. Councilman Winchester, killed in the Matabiri's second strike. No remains recovered. Weiss sat beside him, not because they were friends, they weren't, but because someone had to sit there. Someone had to remind him he wasn't alone. Weiss. Cardin. He didn't respond. Weiss. I'm sorry. Cardin's jaw tightened. He was a bastard. You know that, right? He voted against Faunus rights. He took bribes from the SDC. His voice cracked. He was my father. Weiss put her hand on his shoulder. He didn't shrug it off. Location: the podium, Ozpin's address. Same time, Ozpin stood at the microphone. He looked older than he had a week ago. Thinner. Smaller. Behind him stood representatives from every kingdom, Mistral, Vacuo, Menagerie, even what remained of Atlas's interim council. And beside them, in a simple black uniform, stood Kiyoya Kisugi. He hadn't asked to be there. Ozpin had insisted. Ozpin, we gather today to honor the fallen. Not just the huntsmen, not just the soldiers, but the parents, the children, the shopkeepers who had nothing to do with this war and everything to do with this city. He paused. The rain filled the silence. Ozpin. 3 days ago, an alliance of forces, Neo-Zeon, the Titans, the so-called Dark Army, attempted to destroy everything we have built. They failed, not because of me, not because of any single kingdom, but because ordinary people refused to run. He looked at the crowd, at the bandaged survivors, at the empty chairs. Ozpin, we will rebuild the CCT. We will rebuild our homes. But we will never rebuild the lives that were taken. And so we must remember. Not with vengeance, with purpose. He stepped back. Kiyoya stepped forward. The crowd tensed. Some still blamed SunRise for attracting this war. Others saw them as saviors. Most didn't know what to think. Kiyoya didn't use notes. He didn't use a microphone. He just spoke. Kiyoya, I was not born in Vale. I was not trained here, not really. But this city gave me something I thought I had lost. He touched his chest, over his heart. Kiyoya, a reason to keep going. He looked at the list of names. Kiyoya, I didn't know most of the people on that list. But I know that every single one of them deserved better than to die in a war they didn't start. And I know that the people who did start this war, Char Aznable, the remnants of Neo-Zeon, Salem's inner circle, they are still out there. A murmur ran through the crowd. Kiyoya, I am not here to recruit you. I am not here to scare you. I am here to promise you, SunRise Academy will not rest until every person responsible for this attack is brought to justice. Not revenge, justice. He stepped back. The rain fell harder. No one clapped, but no one booed, either. Location. Vale, temporary shelter beta. That evening. The shelter was a converted warehouse. Rows of cots, a soup kitchen in the corner. Children drawing with crayons on cardboard. Blake Belladonna moved through the rows, handing out blankets. Beside her, a young faunus girl with wolf ears clutched a worn stuffed rabbit. Girl. Miss, is the bad man gone? Blake knelt. Which bad man? Girl. The one in the big robot. The one who laughed. Blake's stomach turned. She knew exactly who the girl meant. The Metropolis commander had broadcast his laughter across every frequency before the fortress fell. Blake. He's gone. He can't hurt anyone anymore. Girl. Promise. Blake. Promise. The girl hugged her. Blake hugged back, her eyes burning. Location. Vale, makeshift morgue. Same time, Jaune, Kiyoya, stood alone in the cold room. Row after row of body bags. Names on tags. Families weeping in the hallway. He had wanted to see them. All of them, not because he was morbid. Because he needed to remember. A medic approached, hesitant. Medic. Commander Kisugi, there's someone asking for you. In the East Wing. Kiyoya. Who? Medic. She didn't give a name. Just said, the broken girl. Kiyoya's heart stopped. He walked. Location. Vale, East Wing, private room. Same time, the room was small. A bed, a window, a single chair. Pira Nikos sat on the bed. She was alive, bruised, bandaged, her left arm in a sling. But alive. She looked up when Kiyoya entered. Her green eyes searched his face, looking for Jaune, finding a stranger. Pira. They told me you were dead. After you disappeared. After Ozpin. After everything. Kiyoya stood in the doorway. He couldn't move. Pira. They were wrong. Kiyoya's voice came out rough. Pira. Pira. Don't apologize. Don't explain. She stood, slowly, painfully. Just tell me one thing. Kiyoya. Anything. Pira. Is Jaune Arc still in there? Somewhere. Or did you bury him with the rest of your old life? The silence stretched. Kiyoya looked at his hands. The hands that had killed Roman Torchwick. The hands that had piloted a Gundam into battle. The hands that had saved people. Kiyoya. He's quieter than he used to be. But he's not gone. Pira stepped closer, raised her good hand, touched his face. Pira. Then don't lose him again. She pulled him into a hug. He broke. Not sobbing, not weeping, just cracking, just for a moment. Then he pulled back, wiped his eyes, and nodded. Kiyoya, I have to go. There's so much to do. Pyrrha, I know. She sat back down on the bed. But you know where to find me. Kiyoya walked to the door. Paused. Kiyoya. Pyrrha. Yes, Kiyoya. Thank you, for not giving up on me. He left. Pyrrha looked out the window at the rain. For the first time in days, she smiled. Location: Vale, SunRise Temporary Headquarters. Late night. The command center was a repurposed hotel lobby. Maps on every wall, radios crackling, coffee in styrofoam cups. Kiyoya stood over a tactical display, studying the remnants of the enemy retreat. Amuro stood beside him. Amuro, Char's pod landed in Anima. We lost track of him in the mountains. Kiyoya, he's meeting with Salem. Has to be. Amuro, probably. He paused. You saw Pyrrha. Kiyoya didn't answer. Amuro, that's good. You needed that. Kiyoya, I needed a lot of things. A working CCT. A functional council. An army that isn't running on fumes. He rubbed his eyes. In about a week of sleep. Amuro almost smiled. We'll get there. Kiyoya looked at the map. At the vast, dark spaces where enemies lurked. At the fragile lights where survivors clung to hope. Kiyoya. Yeah, we will. Chapter 17. Location: Vale, Council Chambers. 1 week after the battle. Time: morning. The reconstruction of Vale had begun in earnest. Cranes dotted the skyline. Construction crews worked in 3 shifts around the clock. The temporary shelters were slowly being replaced with prefabricated housing, not perfect, but progress. But while the city healed above ground, something festered beneath. The Vale Council had called an emergency session. Citizens packed the gallery, bandaged, weary, and angry. Scrolls glowed in every hand, displaying leaked documents that had appeared overnight on every news network in the kingdom. Leaked document number 1. Councilman Rourke had accepted bribes from the SDC to block Faunus labor protections. Leaked document number 2. Councilwoman Finch had sold emergency supply contracts to her own shell company, at 400% market value. Leaked document number 3. Councilman Winchester, deceased, had known about Ironwood's embargo on dust shipments and voted to keep it secret from the public. The crowd's murmur grew into a roar. Citizen shouting, "You sold us out." Another. "Resign, all of you." Councilman Rourke slammed his gavel. "Order. I demand order." No one listened. Location: Vale Council Chambers, Gallery. Same time, Kiyoya Kisugi sat in the back row, arms crossed. Beside him sat Captain Bright Noah, not in uniform, but his posture was military straight. Bright. This is what happens when corruption goes unchecked. The people stop believing in the system. Kiyoya. Can you blame them? Bright. No. He paused. Which is why we need to give them something better. A representative from SunRise Academy stood and addressed the council. Her name was Ambassador Serizawa, a veteran diplomat who had negotiated peace treaties between Earth and space colonies for decades. Serizawa. On behalf of SunRise Academy and the allied forces of Londo Bell, I am formally requesting a seat on the interim council. Councilwoman Finch's face went pale. That's unprecedented. You have no legal standing. Serizawa. We have the standing of trust. She looked at the gallery. The people of Vale have seen what SunRise can do. Not just in battle, but in the aftermath. Our engineers rebuilt 3 district power grids in 5 days. Our medical teams have treated over 2,000 wounded. Our forces bled for this city. She turned back to the council. Serizawa. We are not asking for control. We are asking for accountability. A partnership. The gallery erupted in applause. Councilman Rourke looked at his remaining allies. They were outnumbered. By the crowd, by the evidence, by the truth. Rourke. Reluctantly, we will consider the request. Bright Noah stood. His voice carried across the chamber without a microphone. Bright. There is nothing to consider. Either you accept SunRise's representation on the interim council, or Londo Bell will be forced to recommend a full vote of no confidence to the Kingdom of Vale's remaining legal authorities. The threat hung in the air. Rourke swallowed. You wouldn't. Bright. Try me. Silence. Then, slowly, Councilwoman Finch raised her hand. I move to accept Ambassador Serizawa's request. The vote was called. It passed, unanimously, though 2 members looked ill. Kiyoya leaned back in his seat. 1 battle won, he thought. 100 more to go. Location: the Dark Lands, Salem's domain. Same time. The sky was permanent twilight. Bone-white trees stretched toward a sunless horizon. Grim moved in the shadows, Beowulfs, or Psy, things with too many eyes and no names. And at the center of it all, a castle of black stone. Salem sat on her throne, fingers steepled. She had felt the disturbance days ago, the arrival of something other. Ships that didn't belong to this world. Mobile suits with insignias she didn't recognize. And now, their leader stood before her. Char Aznable. The Red Comet. He wore his mask, golden, expressionless, and his red uniform was immaculate despite the journey. Behind him stood two figures. A pale woman with cold eyes, Haemon Karn, and a scarred man who smelled of ozone and blood, Paptimus Sirocco. Salem studied them with ancient eyes. Salem, the infamous Red Comet. What brings you to my domain? Char didn't answer immediately. He walked to the window, if it could be called that. A gap in the stone that looked out over the Grimlands. Endless dark, endless hunger. Char, beautiful, in its way. The emptiness. He turned. It reminds me of space. Salem, I did not invite you here to discuss aesthetics. Char, no, you invited me because you sensed power. And you wanted to know if I was a threat, or an asset. Salem's eyes narrowed. And which are you? Char stepped closer. His hand moved to his belt, slowly, deliberately. He produced a small device. Cylindrical, glowing faintly at the core. Char, I am not here for talks, Salem. I am here for a proposal. Salem raised an eyebrow. What kind of proposal? Char activated the device. The light that erupted from it was wrong. Not bright, deep. It reached into Salem's chest like fingers. Like roots. Like something searching. Salem screamed. Her body convulsed. The grim corruption that had lived in her for millennia, the darkness that made her immortal, that bound her to the black pools, began to peel away. Not burn, not destroy. Purify. Salem. What is this? Char, a little something from a world beyond your understanding. A wave particle converter, designed to separate soul from corruption. His voice was calm, clinical. You've been immortal for so long, Salem. But immortality is just a word. And words can be unmade. Tyrion Kalos, the Scorpion Faunus, Salem's loyal assassin, lunged. He didn't make it 3 steps. One of Char's mobile suits, a Cubile, painted in Haemon's colors, fired a single beam shot. Tyrion's body disintegrated before it hit the ground. Salem's screams faded. The device powered down. She collapsed to her knees, gasping. Her reflection in a shard of black glass showed a woman she hadn't seen in centuries. Pale skin, red eyes, no grim corruption, no black veins. Human. Salem, whispering, you cured me. She looked up at Char. Her expression was unreadable, shock, gratitude, and something else. Something almost like hope. Salem, you gave me back myself. Char Aznable drew his pistol. Char, I gave you back your mortality. He fired. The shot echoed through the throne room. Salem's body crumpled. Blood pooled on the black stone. Red, human blood. Not the black ichor of Grim. Just blood. Her eyes stayed open, surprised. Then the Grim in the room began to change. Without their queen, without her will binding them, they turned feral. Uncontrolled, a Nevermore crashed through a window and began attacking its own kind. A Beowulf tore into a saber. And at Salem's feet, the pool of blood began to move, sinking into the stone, feeding something below. Arthur Watts stepped out of the shadows, hands clasped behind his back. He looked at Salem's body. Then at Char. Watts. Well, that was efficient. He adjusted his mustache. I suppose I serve under you now. Char. You serve under no one, Doctor. You serve an idea. He holstered his pistol. The idea that this world, like Earth, is ruled by the corrupt, the weak, the complacent. And that only through revolution can it be saved. Watts nodded slowly. And what do you need from me? Char. Your expertise. Your knowledge of Remnant systems. And your silence. He looked out the window again. Toward the sky, toward the stars, toward something only he could see. We have much to prepare. Watts. For what? Char. For Axis. Location. The Dark Lands, throne room. Moments later, Haemon Karn stood over Salem's body. Her expression was unreadable. Haemon. You didn't have to kill her. She could have been useful. Char. She was a liability. Immortal, arrogant, and bound to the Grim. She would have turned on us the moment we outlived our usefulness. Sirocco. Smiling thinly, and we would never do such a thing, of course. Char ignored him. He walked to the window and looked up. Somewhere above Remnant, hidden in the debris field of a broken moon, a massive asteroid drifted. Axis. Char had dropped it on Earth once. The devastation had been educational. Char. To himself, this world thinks it knows suffering. It has seen Grim. It has seen war. But it has never seen gravity used as a weapon. He turned to his new lieutenants. Char. Begin the operation. I want every kingdom's defensive grid mapped within the month. And I want to know everything about this, SunRise Academy, especially their commander. Watts. Kiyoya Kisugi. Char. The boy who thinks he's a hero. Char's mask hid his expression, but his voice carried an edge of contempt, and something else. Something almost like respect. Let's see how heroic he remains when the sky itself turns against him. Location. Vale, SunRise Temporary Headquarters. That night, Kiyoya sat at his desk, reading reports. Reconstruction progress, council votes, casualty updates, and one strange report from long-range sensors, an energy signature in the dark lands. Unidentified, brief, then gone. He stared at the data, frowning. Kiyoya. To himself, what are you planning, Char? No answer came. Outside his window, the lights of Vale flickered, power grids still unstable. But they stayed on. For now, he picked up his coffee. Cold. Again. He drank it anyway. Chapter 18. Location. Vale, United Alliance Headquarters. 2 weeks after the battle. Time. Morning. The world was healing. Slowly. Painfully. But healing. The newly formed United Alliance held its first public session in Vale's restored council chambers. Representatives from every kingdom sat at a circular table, no head, no foot. Equality in structure, if not yet in practice. Ambassador Serizawa addressed the crowd, both in the chamber and across global broadcasts. Serizawa. Today, we take the first step toward a future not defined by fear. The United Alliance promises freedom, justice, and unity, not through force, but through understanding. Applause rippled through the chamber. Serizawa. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of trust. And trust must be earned, by every kingdom, every leader, every person. Kiyoya watched from the gallery. Beside him, Captain Bright Noah nodded approvingly. Bright. She's good. Kiyoya. She's necessary. He paused. Words won't stop Char. Bright. No, but they'll remind people what they're fighting for. The broadcast continued. Serizawa spoke of reconstruction, of refugee aid, of a new era of cooperation between Remnant and SunRise. Then, the screens flickered. Not static. Something else. Something deliberate. Serizawa's image dissolved, replaced by a red background. A familiar emblem. Neo Zeon, and in the center of the screen, standing with arms behind his back, stood Char Aznable. The red comet. Location. Global broadcast, Char Aznable's address. Same time, every screen on Remnant, Vale, Atlas, Mistral, Vacuo, Menagerie, displayed the same image. The same face. The same cold, measured voice. Char. People of Remnant. In Vale, crowds stopped in the streets. In Atlas, soldiers froze mid-repair. In Mistral, families gathered around their scrolls. Char. You have grown arrogant. You believe yourselves evolved, enlightened, simply because you survived. You look at the fall of Atlas and call it tragedy. You look at the corruption of your councils and call it politics. His mask glinted under unseen lights. Char. But I see the truth. Your general, Ironwood, believed himself a god, a tyrant wrapped in hero's clothing. Your councils sell your futures for lean. Your huntsmen die for kingdoms that would discard them the moment they become inconvenient. Behind Char, two figures stepped into frame. Paptimus Sirocco, tall, silver-haired, smiling like a predator. Haman Karn, cold-eyed, regal, radiating contempt. Char. From this day forward, Neo Zeon stands united under my command. Sirocco. Haman, and the forces of those who believe that humanity, all humanity, deserves to escape the gravity that binds them. He stepped closer to the camera. Char. You cling to your planet like children clinging to a mother's skirt. But the future is not on the ground. It is in the stars. And the people of space, the Spacenoids, will no longer be ruled by the gravitational tyranny of Earth and its copies. He raised a gloved hand. Char. This is not a threat. This is a promise. We will show Remnant what true revolution looks like. My father would have been proud. The broadcast cut to static. Then to black. Then to silence. Location: Vale, United Alliance headquarters. Immediately after. Pandemonium. Council members shouted over each other. Civilians in the gallery wept or screamed. A few, a very few, sat in stunned silence. Kyoya was already on his feet. Kyoya. Bright, get me every ship we have. Now. Bright. Already moving. He was on his comms, barking orders. Londo Bell Fleet, battle stations. I want a defensive perimeter around Vale within the hour. Kyoya. Not enough. Char's not on Remnant, he's in space. Bright paused, looked at him. You're sure? He said. The people of space. He mentioned gravity as tyranny. Kyoya's jaw tightened. He's going to drop something on us. Just like he did on Earth. Location: Vale, Beacon Tower, Ozpin's office. Same time. Ozpin stood at his window, looking out at the city. His coffee sat untouched. Glinda entered behind him. Glinda. The council is demanding answers. The public is panicking, and I just watched a man in a mask declare war on reality. Ozpin. Char Aznable. He said the name like it tasted bitter. I've read the files from SunRise. He's not a conqueror, he's a believer. Glinda. That's worse. Ozpin. Much worse. He turned. Prepare the students, not for battle, for evacuation. If Char brings space-borne forces to Remnant, the ground won't be safe. Glinda. Where would be safe? Ozpin didn't answer. Location: unknown location, Master Asia's refuge. Same time. The old man sat cross-legged on a stone floor, eyes closed. Around him, the broadcast played on a cracked viewscreen. Char's voice echoed off the walls. Char. The people of space will no longer be ruled by gravitational tyranny. Master Asia opened his eyes. Master Asia. Foolishness. He stood, his movements fluid despite his age. The earth is not a cage. It is a garden, and gardens must be protected from those who would burn them. He picked up a cloth and began wiping down a mobile suit control console. Master Asia. Domon, my student. You have grown strong, but strength without wisdom is just violence. He paused. Perhaps it is time I reminded you of that. He walked toward his own Gundam. Location: low orbit, Londo Bell Fleet. 3 hours later, the Ra Kalem led the charge. Behind it, the Argama and a dozen other ships burned hard for the upper atmosphere. On the bridge, crew members called out telemetry data, radar contacts, weapon status. Crewman. Captain, we have multiple bogies coming from the debris field near the broken moon. Bright. On comms identify. Crewman. Neo-Zeon mobile suits. At least 3 squadrons. And, the crewman's voice cracked, in something larger. Capital class. Bright's face didn't change. Launch the mobile suit teams. All hands to battle stations. Location: space, mobile suit launch. Same time, Amuro Ray's custom Zeta Gundam A3 type, refitted, upgraded, deadly, shot out of the Ra Kalem's catapult. Behind him, a wave of Jigans and Jettas fanned out in attack formation. Amuro. Comms all units, watch for ambush tactics. Char likes to hide his real strike force behind a screen of warning klaxon. Incoming fire. Beam rounds streaked past Amuro's cockpit. He rolled, instinct, reflex, new type awareness, and returned fire. 2 Gaza Seas exploded. But more kept coming, and then, 2 familiar silhouettes appeared on his radar. Amuro. That's Camille's voice. Comms, long time no see, Amuro. Judo's voice. Comms, you didn't think you'd have all the fun, did you? The Zeta Gundam, Camille's, newly upgraded with enhanced thrusters and a modified biosensor, sliced through the enemy line, its beam saber carving a Gaza D in half. The double Zeta Gundam, Judo's, bulkier, heavier, bristling with firepower, followed, its high mega cannon charging with an audible whine. Judao. Eat this. The cannon fired. 3 enemy suits vanished in the blast. Amuro. Almost smiling, you two took your time. Camille. Had to make some adjustments. A pause. Char's not alone up here. Sirako's mobile suit, the O, is with him. And Heyman's Cubily. Judao. So it's a party. The 3 ace pilots formed up, Zeta, Double Zeta, and Amuro's custom unit, and pushed toward the enemy flagship. Location: Neo-Zeon flagship, bridge. Same time, Char watched the battle unfold on a massive holographic display. Heyman. 3 Gundams. They're pushing through our lines. Sirako. Let them. He smiled. The closer they come, the easier they are to trap. Char said nothing. He watched the white, gold, and red mobile suits tear through his forces, and felt something he hadn't expected. Respect. Char. Quietly, you've grown, Amuro. All of you. He turned to his helmsman. Char. Signal a tactical retreat. We've made our point. Heyman. Retreat. We have them outnumbered. Char. We have them exactly where I want them. His mask hid his expression. The broadcast was the first shot. Now they know we're here. Now they're scared. Fear makes people desperate, and desperate people make mistakes. He looked at the holographic display, at the blue-green sphere of Remnant below. Char. Prepare access for final approach. Location. Space, Londo Bell Fleet. After the battle, the Neo-Zeon forces withdrew. Not in panic. In order. Covering fire. Staggered retreat. Minimal losses. Amuro floated in the cockpit of his Zeta, watching them go. His hands were steady on the controls, but his mind was racing. Amuro. Comms bright. They're pulling back. Bright. I see it. Don't pursue. It's a trap. Amuro. I know. He looked at the debris field, at the shadow of the broken moon. Bright. There's something out there. Something big. Bright. How big? Amuro. Big enough to end a kingdom. Silence on the comm. Then. Bright. Get back to the ship. We need to talk. Amuro turned his Zeta toward the Ra Kalem. Behind him, the stars seemed darker than before. Location. Vale, United Alliance headquarters. Late night. Kyoya sat alone in the war room. The broadcast had been looped 100 times. Analyzed. Dissected. Char's words, gravity, freedom, revolution, played over and over in his head. He's not wrong about the corruption, Kyoya thought. He's not wrong about Ironwood. But his solution, dropping Axis, killing millions. The door opened. Pyrrha walked in, still in a sling, but moving better than she had a week ago. Pyrrha. You should sleep. Kyoya. Can't. She sat beside him, didn't touch him, just stayed. Pyrrha. What are you thinking? Kyoya. I'm thinking that Char Aznable is the most dangerous kind of enemy. He looked at her. The kind who's right about the problem, and wrong about everything else. Pyrrha. That's called a tyrant. Kyoya. No, he shook his head. Tyrants want power. Char wants to burn the system down and build something new from the ashes. That's worse, because you can't negotiate with someone who sees the whole world as kindling. Pyrrha was quiet for a moment. Pyrrha. Then we protect the kindling. Kyoya almost smiled. Almost. Kyoya. Yeah, he stood. We do. He walked to the window. The lights of Vale were still on. For now. Chapter 19. Location. Low orbit, the battlefield. Time. 0900 hours. The war had begun, not with a declaration, not with a warning, but with the thunder of beam cannons and the scream of tearing metal. Londo Bell's fleet, the Ra Kalem, the Argama, and a dozen support ships, pushed hard against the Neo-Zeon defensive line. Behind them, Remnant hung blue and vulnerable. Before them, an army of mobile suits painted in red and black. Bright Noah's voice. Fleet-wide comms, all ships, full barrage. Give the mobile suit teams room to advance. The Ra Kalem's main cannons fired. Beams of concentrated energy tore through the darkness, striking the forward Neo-Zeon line. But they fired back. Location. The battlefield, Neo-Zeon forces. Same time, dozens of mobile suits surged forward. Old-era units, refitted, upgraded, still deadly. Zaku 2, standard and sniper types, picking off targets from range. Zaku 2 sniper type, kneeling on debris, beam rifles glowing. Dom, hovering on jet thrusters, bazookas ready. Gaza C, Gaza D, transforming, weaving between friendly fire. Goof, charging with heat swords drawn. Dion, its needle missile shield gleaming. A guy, claws extended, moving like shadows. And behind them, the heavy hitters. NZ-333 Alpha Aziru, piloted by Quest Perea, its massive frame bristling with funnels. MSN-03 Jag Doga, piloted by Jaune Gus, its beam assault rifle scanning for targets. Quest, comms, arrogant, is this the best Londo Bell can send? Children in Gundams. Jaune, comms, calmer, don't underestimate them, Quest. Those aren't children. The Aziru's funnels launched, dozens of remote weapons spiraling toward the Londo Bell line. Location. Londo Bell Fleet, Mobile Suit Launch Bay. Same time, Kyoya Kisugi stood in his pilot suit, helmet under his arm, armor gleaming under the bay lights. Behind him, his Gundam waited, the AGIIMG Gundam AGEII Magnum, freshly refitted after the Battle of Vale. Beside him stood two women in matching pilot suits. Amelia, silver-haired, calm-eyed, pilot of the AGM-FX-56SA Impulse Gundam ARC. Karuna, red-haired, fierce-smiled, pilot of the AGM-FX-56SL Impulse Gundam Lancier. They were his squad, his trusted squad, the ones who had followed him from SunRise Academy without question. Amelia, nervous. Kyoya, no, he paused, focused. Karuna, same thing, different name. Kyoya almost smiled. Then he pulled on his helmet. The HUD flickered to life. Kyoya, comms operator, this is Kisugi. Londo Bell mobile suit teams are ready to intercede. Requesting launch clearance. Operator's voice, clearance granted. All units, launch when ready. Watch your 6. Neo Zeon has snipers in the debris field. Kyoya, copy. He climbed into the Magnum's cockpit. The systems hummed around him, familiar, alive, home. Kyoya, to himself, I guess some things are universal. The catapult locked into place. Then, launch, location. The battlefield, Gundam Ace formation. Same time, the 4 Gundams moved as one. Amuro Ray, in the new Gundam, long-range fin funnel and hyper-mega bazooka launcher equipment, led the charge. His funnels deployed, spreading out in a defensive screen. Amuro, comms enemy funnels inbound. Camille, Judao, break left and right. I'll draw their fire. Camille Bidon, in the Zeta Gundam, I-Field Claw and I-Field Blaster equipment, rolled left, his I-Field generator shimmering. Beam shots deflected off the energy barrier. Camille, I see them. The Aziru and Jag Doga. They're coordinating. Judao Ashta, in the Gundam Hyper Giga launcher equipment, banked right, his massive cannon charging. Judao. Then let's ruin their coordination. Hyper Giga. He never finished the call. Because the funnels arrived first. Dozens of remote weapons swarmed the ZZ Gundam, firing from every angle. Judo's shields held, barely. Judao. Damn it, Camille, a little help. Camille. I'm a little busy. The Zeta Gundam's I-Field Claw extended, a massive energy hand that caught 3 funnels mid-flight and crushed them. But more kept coming. And then, Amuro. I've got them. The new Gundam's long-range fin funnels launched. Unlike the enemy's funnels, Amuro's were different. Larger, faster, controlled by his new type senses with surgical precision. They sliced through the Aziru's funnel swarm like a hot knife through butter. Quest. Screaming, impossible. The new Gundam's hyper-mega bazooka launcher swung into position. Amuro. You're out of your league, kid. He fired. The shot didn't hit the Aziru. Amuro was careful about that. Quest was young, misguided, not evil. The beam tore through the space beside her mobile armor, the shockwave sending her tumbling. Jaune. Quest. Fall back. Quest. Shaking, furious, I'm not. Jaune. That's an order. The Jag Doga grabbed the Aziru's arm and pulled her toward the Neo Zeon flagship. Location. The battlefield, Kyoya's position. Same time. The Magnum shot through the chaos. Amelia. Comms Kyoya, enemy goof on your 6. Kyoya. I see it. He didn't turn, didn't panic, he just moved. The Magnum's Hyper Dodds rifle Magnum spun in its hand, a blur of white and blue, and fired backward without looking. The beam caught the goof in its chest. The old mobile suit exploded. Karuna. Comms, grinning, show off. Kyoya. Still standing, that's what counts. He pushed forward, toward the enemy line. And then, he saw him. Not on radar, not on sensors, but there. A red mobile suit, gold trim, a mask visible through the cockpit glass. Char Aznable, Kyoya. To himself, there you are. Char Sazaba, custom, deadly, iconic, turned to face the Magnum. For a moment, the two pilots simply looked at each other across the void. Then Char raised his beam shotgun. And Kyoya raised his rifle. Location. Neo Zeon flagship, bridge. Same time, Heyman Karn. Char. The Aziru is retreating. Quest is shaken but alive. Sirocco. The Londo Bell aces are better than expected. Especially the new one. He pointed at the Magnum on the tactical display. That pilot, Kisugi. Char. Comms, I see him. Heyman. Do you want us to send reinforcements? Char. No. A pause. I want to test him myself. The Sazaba charged. Location: the battlefield, Kyoya vs. Char. Same time. The first exchange was violent. Char's beam shotgun roared, Kyoya's hyper-dodge rifle answered. Two beams met in the middle, an explosion of light that blinded nearby sensors. Kyoya: internal, he's fast. Faster than the Sims. Char: internal, he's raw. But there's something there. Something familiar. They circled each other. The battle raged around them, Gundams and Zakus, beam fire and explosions, but for this moment, there was only the two of them. Char: external comms, you fight with anger, Kyoya Kisugi. Anger makes you predictable. Kyoya: then I'll surprise you. The Magnum's beam sabers ignited, twin blades of pink light. Kyoya charged. Char didn't retreat, he advanced. The Sazaba's beam saber met the Magnum's. Sparks flew, metal screamed. Kyoya: why are you doing this, Char? Dropping Axis, killing millions, what does it prove? Char: it proves that gravity is a lie. That the people of Earth, and Remnant, are not gods. They are anchors, and anchors must be cut. Kyoya: that's not revolution. That's murder. Char: call it what you will. The Sazaba pushed the Magnum back. History is written by the survivors. Their sabers locked. For a moment, neither moved. Then Char's Sazaba kicked the Magnum in the chest, a brutal, unexpected strike, and Kyoya went tumbling. Char: comms, you have potential, boy. But potential is not victory. He raised his beam shotgun for the killing shot. Location: the battlefield, reinforcements. Same time, two beam shots slammed into the Sazaba's shield. Amelia's voice: get away from him. Karuna's voice: or we'll make you regret it. The Impulse Gundams, Arc and Lancier, dropped in between Kyoya and Char. Their weapons were trained on the Red Comet. Char: almost amused, loyal companions. How sentimental. He lowered his shotgun. Char: this isn't over, Kyoya Kisugi. We'll meet again. The Sazaba's thrusters flared. Char retreated toward the Neo-Zeon line. Kyoya: comms, breathless, Amelia. Karuna: thanks. Amelia: don't thank us. Just stay alive. Karuna: that's an order. Kyoya laughed, short, sharp, relieved. Kyoya: yes, ma'am. Location: Londo Bell Fleet, Ra Kalem Bridge. 1 hour later. The battle was over. A stalemate. Both sides had taken losses. Neither had gained ground. Bright Noah stood at the main view screen, watching the Neo-Zeon fleet retreat. Bright: damage report, crewmen. 3 ships heavily damaged. Mobile suit losses at 15%. Civilian casualties, none. The evacuation corridors held. Bright and Char, crewmen, retreated to the asteroid belt. We lost track of him near Axis. Bright's jaw tightened. Axis. Amuro walked onto the bridge, still in his pilot suit. His face was grim. Amuro: he was testing us. That wasn't a real assault. Bright: I know. He turned. The question is, what was he looking for? Amuro: our limits. He paused. And now he knows them. Location: Neo-Zeon flagship, Char's quarters. Same time. Char sat in the darkness, mask off, face reflected in a small mirror. He looked older than he felt. Tired, but his eyes burned. Char: to himself, Kyoya Kisugi. John Arc, whatever you call yourself. He picked up a photograph, old, faded, of a woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. You remind me of someone I used to know. Someone who believed in hope. He set the photograph down. Char: I hope you survive long enough to prove me wrong. He put the mask back on. Outside the window, Axis loomed, a mountain of rock and metal, drifting toward Remnant. The countdown had begun. Location: Vale, United Alliance headquarters. That night, Kyoya sat in the medical bay, arm wrapped in bandages. A beam graze. Nothing serious. Pyrrha sat beside him, her own arm still in a sling. Pyrrha: you fought Char. Kyoya: I survived Char. There's a difference. Pyrrha: that's more than most can say. Kyoya looked at his hands. They were steady, but his mind wasn't. Kyoya: he's not evil, Pyrrha. That's the worst part. He believes what he's saying. He thinks dropping Axis will liberate people. From gravity, from governments, from everything. Pyrrha: that doesn't make it right. Kyoya: no, but it makes it harder to stop. Because you can't reason someone out of a belief they didn't reason themselves into. Pyrrha was quiet for a moment. Pyrrha. Then we don't reason with him. We stop him. Kiyoya nodded. Kiyoya. Yeah, he stood. We do. He walked to the window. The lights of Vale were still on. For now. Chapter 20. Location. Low orbit, the Axis crisis. Time. 1400 hours. The unthinkable had happened. Char Aznabal's voice echoed across every frequency, not just on Remnant, but across the Londo Bell fleet, across the scattered colonies, across the void itself. Char. Broadcast people of Remnant. People of Earth. People of the stars. On the viewscreen of the Ra Kalem, Char's masked face stared out with cold certainty. Char. I have decided. Axis will fall, not as a weapon of war, but as an instrument of judgment. Your corruption, your prejudice, your refusal to evolve beyond your petty divisions, it ends today. In Haven Academy, Faunus families stared at their scrolls in disbelief. Faunus citizen. He wants to cleanse the world. Another. He says he's doing it for us. In Mistral, in Vacuo, in the cratered ruins of Atlas, the same shock. The same fear. Char wasn't attacking armies. He was attacking civilization itself. Location. Vale, Beacon Tower, Ozpin's office. Same time. Ozpin stood at his window, coffee cold in his hand. Behind him, Glinda and Ironwood surviving officers watched the broadcast in grim silence. Glinda. Can he actually do it? Drop an asteroid that size? Ozpin. He's done it before. On Earth. He turned. The only question is whether we can stop him. Glinda. And if we can't? Ozpin looked out at the sky, at the faint, terrible light of Axis beginning its descent. Ozpin. Then we find a new way to hope. Location. Low orbit, Londo Bell fleet. Same time, the Ra Kalem and its sister ships burned hard, positioning themselves between Axis and the planet below. Bright Noah. Fleet-wide comms all hands, this is not a battle for territory. This is not a battle for pride. This is a battle for every life on Remnant. Do you understand? A chorus of affirmations echoed across the comms. Bright. Then launch every mobile suit. Give them everything you have. Location. The battlefield, mobile suit line. Same time. The launch catapults fired in sequence. Gigans, mass-produced, brave, outnumbered. Jettas, the workhorses of Londo Bell. Rezels, transforming, weaving through debris. And at the front, the aces. Camille Bidon in the Zeta Gundam, I Field Claw glowing. Judao Eshta in the Gundam, Hyper Giga Launcher charged. Amuro Ray in the new Gundam, long-range fin funnels deployed. Kiyoya Kisugi in the Age IIMG Magnum, Hyper Dodds rifle ready. And behind them, unexpected allies. Location. The battlefield, Master Asia vs. Domon. Same time, the Master Gundam descended like a dark comet. Master Asia. Comms Domon. Face me. The God Gundam turned. Domon's face, visible through the cockpit glass, was torn between love and duty. Domon. Master, please. Don't do this. The people of Remnant aren't our enemies. Master Asia. They are no different than the people of Earth. They cling to their planet like parasites. They poison it. They poison each other. His voice softened, just slightly. I have seen this before, Domon. The cycle never ends. Domon. Then we break the cycle. The God Gundam's fists glowed. Not by dropping mountains, not by killing millions, but by believing that people can change. Master Asia laughed, a sad, weary sound. Master Asia. You are so naive, my student. So hopeful. He raised the Master Gundam's hand. That is why you will always be greater than me. Domon. Master. Master Asia. Fight me. Not as enemies, as equals. The two Gundams charged. Their fists met. God versus Master, and the shockwave cracked nearby debris. Location. The battlefield, the duel's end. Minutes later. The battle was brutal, beautiful, final. Master Asia was older, slower, but his skill was unmatched. Every blow Domon landed, Master Asia countered. Every counter, Domon adapted. But age has its costs. Master Asia. Breathing hard, you've surpassed me, Domon. Domon. Master, please. Let me help you. Master Asia. You already have. The Master Gundam systems began to fail, red lights flashing, alarms screaming. You reminded me why I became a warrior in the first place. He looked out at the battle, at the Gundams fighting to save Remnant. At the light beginning to gather around Axis. Master Asia. not to destroy. To protect. The Master Gundam went limp. Its thrusters died. Domon. No, the God Gundam caught the Master Gundam before it could drift away. Domon held his teacher's mobile suit like a child holding a dying parent. Master Asia. Weekly, live, Domon. Live, and teach others what I could not. His hand fell. The Master Gundam's cockpit lights went dark. Domon screamed, but he didn't let go. Location. The battlefield, the Neo-Zeon assault. Same time, while Domon mourned, the battle raged. Char's Sazaba carved through Jigans like a scythe through wheat. Beside him, Hayman's Kubili rained funnels on the Londo Bell line. Sirako's the O, massive, golden, wrong, moved with impossible grace. Char, calms, to Amuro, you cannot stop Axis, Amuro. You cannot change human nature. Amuro, calms, grim, then I'll defy it. The new Gundam's long-range fin funnels launched, not at Char, but at Axis itself. The beams struck the asteroid's surface, blasting chunks of rock into space. But it wasn't enough. Judao. The rock's too big. We're not making a dent. Camille. Then we need more power. Location. The battlefield, the unexpected betrayal. Same time, Hathaway Noah, young, impulsive, desperate, broke formation. Amuro. Hathaway, get back here, Hathaway. Comms, shaking, I can stop it. I can. His mobile suit fired everything, beam rifle, missiles, Vulcans, at a key structural point on Axis. The rock cracked, but it didn't stop, and now the largest chunk of Axis, the core, was drifting toward Remnant's atmosphere. Hathaway. Horrified, no, I made it worse. Bright Noah's voice, cold, controlled, Hathaway. Return to the ship, now. Hathaway didn't argue, he turned and fled, but the damage was done. Location. The battlefield, the push. Same time, the core of Axis entered the upper atmosphere. Friction set it ablaze, a second sun falling toward Remnant. Amuro. Calms everyone, push. Now. The new Gundam's thrusters flared. Amuro slammed his mobile suit against the rock. Camille. I'm with you. The Zeta Gundam joined him, I feel Claw digging into the stone for leverage. Judao. Don't start the party without me. The ZZ Gundam's massive frame pressed against Axis, its thrusters overheating. Kyoya. Amelia. Karuna. With me. Amelia. Right behind you. Karuna. Always. The Magnum and the two Impulse Gundams added their strength, small against the mountain, but together. Domon. Comms, voice raw, for Master Asia. For everyone. The God Gundam, still carrying the Master Gundam's hand, slammed into Axis with everything it had. The rock slowed, but it didn't stop. Location. The battlefield, the miracle. Moments later, and then, light, not beam fire, not explosions. Something else. It began in the cockpits of the new types, Amuro, Camille, Judao. A resonance, a connection. Then it spread, to Kyoya, to Amelia, to Karuna. To every pilot fighting to save the planet below. Kyoya. Internal, what is this? The light poured out of them, through them, and wrapped around Axis. The dark lands below began to change. Where Grimm had roamed for millennia, feral, hungry, corrupted, the light touched them. Beowulfs stopped mid-charge, Nevermore froze in the air. Creeps lowered their claws. And then, transformation. The Grimm's black hides softened. Their red eyes faded to brown, to gold, to gentle. Their snarls became whines, then curious sniffs, then something almost like peace. Grim wolf. No longer a Grimm, just a wolf tilted its head at a nearby Faunus child. The child reached out, touched its fur. It didn't bite. It licked her hand. Across the dark lands, the same miracle unfolded. The dead soil cracked, and green pushed through. Flowers, grass, saplings, life, where there had been only death. Salem's castle, once black and hateful, grew vines. Not choking vines, healing vines. Roses bloomed on the throne where she had died. Kyoya. Calms, odd, this power, it's not from weapons. It's not from mobile suits. He looked at his hands, glowing with soft, golden light. It's from the heart, human, Faunus. It doesn't matter, it's hope. Char's voice, quiet, broken, what have I done? Location. The battlefield, Char's realization. Same time. Inside the Sazaba's cockpit, Char Aznable stared at the light. His mask reflected it, golden, warm, forgiving. He thought of Layla. Of the woman he had failed. Of all the people he had sacrificed for his revolution. Char, whispering, "I was wrong." He pulled off his mask. For the first time in years, his face was bare, scarred, tired, human. Char, calms, to Amuro. "Amuro. I'm sorry." Amuro, surprised Char. "Char, I thought I was saving humanity. But I was just hurting it. Like everyone else." He looked at Axis, still falling, but slowing. "Tell me how to stop it." Amuro, push, together. Char nodded. The Sazaba's thrusters flared, and the red comet joined the line. Location: the battlefield, Sirocco's betrayal. Same time. But not everyone wanted salvation. Paptimus Sirocco's voice. Calms, cold, sentimentality. Weakness. This is why humanity doesn't deserve to exist. The O, golden, massive, terrifying, charged its weapons. Not at Axis. Not at Londo Bell. At the pilots. Sirocco. If I cannot rule this world, no one will. The O's beam cannon fired, straight at the gathered Gundams. Location: the battlefield, the final showdown. Same time. Amuro. Sirocco. The new Gundam moved to intercept, but it was too far. Too slow. Then, the Sazaba took the shot. Char's mobile suit absorbed the beam on its shield. The shield buckled, melted, failed, but it held just long enough. Char, calms, gritted. "Sirocco, your ambition ends here." Sirocco. "You think you can stop me, Char? You, who tried to drop Axis? You're a hypocrite." Char. "Maybe." The Sazaba drew its beam saber. "But I'm a hypocrite who still has people to protect." The battle that followed was chaos, beautiful, terrible chaos. Amuro fired his fin funnels, corralling the O's movement. Camille used the Zeta's eye field claw to deflect beam shots. Judao blasted chunks of debris to disrupt Sirocco's aim. Domon, still grieving, still fighting, drove the God Gundam's fist into the O's chest. Kyoya, the Magnum's hyper-dodge rifle firing in bursts, targeted the O's thrusters, one by one. And Heyman Karn, who had watched in silence, made her choice. Heyman, calms, to Char. "For what it's worth, you were right about one thing." The Cubilee's funnels swarmed the O, not attacking, but binding. Holding it in place. Heyman, humanity deserves a chance to prove you wrong. Sirocco. "No, Char. Now." Amuro. The new Gundam's hyper-mega bazooka launcher fired, one shot, perfect aim, straight through the O's cockpit. Sirocco's mobile suit exploded, the golden light faded. And the O drifted, dead, empty, finished. Location: the battlefield. Axis stopped. Moments later, the light of the new types, the light of hope, surged one final time. Axis stopped, not destroyed, not shattered, just held, suspended in the upper atmosphere, caught between falling and flying. Amuro, exhausted, relieved. We did it. Camille, the rock isn't falling anymore. Judao, but it's not going away either. Kyoya, that's fine, we'll deal with it tomorrow. He looked at the planet below, at the dark lands turning green, at the grim becoming animals, at the light. Today, we saved lives. Location: Neo Zeon flagship, Char's quarters. That evening, Char sat in the darkness. His mask was gone, his uniform was torn, his hands were steady, but his heart was not. A knock. Amuro. Through the door. Char. "Char, come in." Amuro entered. He didn't sit, he just stood there, arms crossed. Amuro. "The council wants you arrested. Tried for war crimes." Char. "They should." Amuro. "I told them no." Char looked up. "Why?" Amuro. "Because you helped stop Axis. Because you saved lives today. Because," he paused, "because Layla would have wanted this." Char's jaw tightened, his eyes glistened. "Char, I don't deserve forgiveness." Amuro. "That's not for me to give." He turned to leave, "but it's not for you to refuse, either." The door closed. Char sat alone in the silence. Outside the window, the lights of Remnant glittered, all of them. Vale, Mistral, Vacuo, even Atlas, rebuilding. And for the first time in decades, Char Aznable wept. Location: Vale, United Alliance headquarters. The next morning. The war was over. A new era had begun. Kyoya stood on the balcony of the headquarters, looking out at the city. The reconstruction continued, cranes, welders, workers in hard hats. But the air felt different. Lighter. Pyrrha joined him. Her arm was out of the sling, still healing, but better. "Pyrrha, You're smiling. Kiyoya. I am. Pyrrha. First time I've seen it. He looked at his reflection in the window. She was right. Kiyoya. Guess I have a reason now. Pyrrha. What's that? He turned to her, to the city, to the sky where Axis hung, frozen, waiting for a future solution. Kiyoya. Hope. He put his arm around her. She leaned into him. Below, in the streets of Vale, a child laughed. And somewhere in the dark lands, now the bright lands, a wolf with no grim corruption howled at the rising sun. Epilogue. A new dawn. Location. The bright lands, former dark lands. 6 months after the Axis crisis. Time. Sunrise. The sun rose over a world that had forgotten how to hope. But not anymore. Where Salem's castle had once stood, black spires against a blood-red sky, now there were gardens. Rows of flowers in every color. Trees heavy with fruit, streams that ran clear instead of black. And at the center of it all, a simple stone monument. Here fell the Queen of Grimm. Here rose the promise of tomorrow. Let this land be a reminder. No darkness lasts forever. A young Faunus girl, the same one who had asked Blake if the bad man was gone, placed a handful of wildflowers at the base of the monument. Beside her, a wolf that had once been a Beowulf wagged its tail. Girl. Mama says the bad lady can't hurt anyone anymore. Blake Belladonna knelt beside her. That's right. Girl. So why do we still remember her? Blake looked at the monument, at the names carved into its base. Salem wasn't on it, but hundreds of others were. Victims. Survivors. Everyone who had been lost. Blake. Because if we forget what happened, we might let it happen again. The girl nodded solemnly. Then she giggled as the wolf licked her cheek. Blake smiled. This is what we fought for, she thought. This. Location. Vale, rebuilt Beacon Academy. Same time, the halls of Beacon were alive again. Students rushed between classes, laughter, arguments, the squeak of sneakers on polished floors. The smell of fresh paint and new books filled the air, and above the main entrance, a new statue stood. Not of Ozpin, not of a headmaster, of everyone, a huntsman in tattered armor, a Faunus with broken chains, a pilot in a mobile suit cockpit, a child reaching for the sky. The inscription read, "Heroes are not born, they are forged, in failure, in loss, in the choice to keep going when everything says stop." Ruby Rose stood in front of the statue, a new crescent rose strapped to her back. The metal was polished, the blade was sharp, but it wasn't the same. Nothing is the same, she thought. Maybe that's okay. Young walked up beside her. Her mechanical arm had been upgraded, SunRise tech, courtesy of the Patlabor engineers. It gleamed in the morning light. Young. You okay, Ruby? Yeah, she paused. I think I am. Young. Good. She punched Ruby's shoulder, gently. Because Weiss is already yelling at Cardin about something, and I need backup. Ruby laughed. Some things never change. Young. Thank God for that. They walked inside together. Location. Atlas, the new council chambers. Same time, Atlas was still rebuilding. The crater where the city had fallen was now a memorial park. The floating island above, what remained of the original Atlas, had been converted into a research station. And on the ground, in a modest building that had once been a warehouse, the new Atlas Council held its first session. Winter Schnee sat at the head of the table, not because she wanted power, but because someone had to lead. Winter. The first order of business, recognizing the United Alliance's formal request for mutual defense treaties with all 4 kingdoms. Councilman. And if we refuse, Winter, then we stand alone. Against whatever comes next. She looked around the table. I don't recommend that. The vote was unanimous. Atlas would not stand alone again. Location. Mistral, the Haven Academy Gardens. Same time. Professor Leonardo Lionheart's successor, a young Faunus woman named Sienna Talon, walked through the memorial gardens. Each stone represented a student lost to the war. Too many stones. But between the stones, new flowers grew. Sienna. To herself, we will not forget. But we will not be consumed by grief. She stopped at a stone that read, Pyranikos, she believed in us. A fresh rose lay on it. Sienna smiled. Someone still visits you, champion. She didn't know who, but she was glad. Location. Vacuo, the Shade Academy courtyard. Same time, Sun Wukong balanced a tray of drinks on one hand while juggling a textbook with the other. He stumbled, caught the tray, lost the textbook, caught it with his tail. Sun. Nailed it. Neptune Vasilias shook his head. You're going to break something. Sun. Probably. He grinned. But not today. Above them, the sky was clear. No grim. No war. Just peace. Fragile, Sun thought, but real. Location. The Bright Lands, SunRise Academy outpost. Same time, the outpost was small, a few buildings, a landing pad, a communications tower. But it was theirs. Noah Izumi stood on the landing pad, her paddler, Alphonse, kneeling behind her in standby mode. The morning wind tugged at her uniform. Kiyoya Kisugi walked up beside her. His pilot suit was replaced with a simple jacket and jeans. No helmet, no armor. Noah. You look strange without the Gundam. Kiyoya. I look normal. Noah. Same thing. He almost smiled. Then he looked out at the bright lands, green and gold and alive. Kiyoya. It's hard to believe. 6 months ago, this place was hell on earth. Noah. Now it's a nature preserve. She paused. Funny how things change. Kiyoya. Funny how people change. He thought of Char, in custody, but not in chains. Helping with reconstruction, writing letters of apology, trying. He thought of Emerald, still in the rehabilitation program, still struggling, but trying. He thought of himself. Noah. You're brooding. Kiyoya. I'm reflecting. Noah. Same thing. He laughed. Actually laughed. It felt strange. It felt good. Location. The Bright Lands, the hot springs. Later that day. The hot springs had been a surprise, geothermal vents that surfaced after the new type miracle. Now they were a gathering place. Not fancy. Just warm. Setsuna sat on the edge of the pool, feet in the water. Beside her, Akari Azora floated on her back, staring at the sky. Akari. Do you ever think about the future? Setsuna. Sometimes. Akari. What do you see? Setsuna. This. She gestured at the water, the trees, the distant mountains. Peace. Quiet. Maybe a garden. Akari. You. Gardening. Setsuna. I can learn. Akari laughed. I'd pay to see that. Allenby Beardsley splashed over to them, grinning. What are you two gossiping about? Setsuna. The future. Allenby. Boring. She dunked Akari. Talk about something fun. Akari surfaced, sputtering. I'm going to kill you. Allenby. You can try. Kokona watched from the shore, shaking her head. Children. All of them. But she was smiling. Location. The Bright Lands, the Memorial Grove. That evening, the grove was quiet. Rows of trees, one for every person lost in the war. Not just huntsmen, not just soldiers, everyone. Pira Nikos walked slowly between them, her hand brushing each trunk as she passed. Her arm had healed, her heart was healing. She stopped at a tree marked John Arc. Pira. Quietly, he's not dead, you know. He just changed. The tree didn't answer, but the wind rustled its leaves. Pira. I miss you. The old you. The clumsy, earnest, hopeless you. She touched the bark. But I'm proud of who you've become. She stood there for a long time. Then she turned and walked back toward the outpost, toward the lights, the laughter, the living. Location. Low orbit, the Axis Memorial Station. Same time. Axis hung in the sky, not a weapon anymore, but a reminder. The station built into its surface housed researchers, diplomats, and a single prisoner who had chosen to stay. Char Aznable sat in a small room with a window that faced Remnant. No guards, no bars, just his word. He had given it, he had kept it. The door opened. Amuro Ray walked in. Amuro. You could leave. Any time. Char. I know. Amuro. Then why don't you? Char looked at the planet below, blue and green and alive. Char. Because I spent my whole life running. From my past, from my failures, from myself. He turned. It's time I stopped. Amuro sat across from him. What do you want, Char? Char. I want to help. Not lead, not conquer. Just help. He paused. Is that allowed? Amuro was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Amuro. The council won't like it. Char. The council doesn't have to know. Amuro almost smiled. You're impossible. Char. I've been told. They sat in silence, watching the stars. Location. The Bright Lands, SunRise Academy outpost. That night, the celebration was small. A few tables, a lot of food, music from someone's scroll. Kutetsu Kubaragi danced with his daughter, swinging her around until she shrieked with laughter. Barnaby stood in the corner, pretending not to enjoy himself. Karina Lyle sang, badly, but with enthusiasm. Kane Wakaba challenged Tap Oceano to an eating contest. Light Newman judged. It was a disaster. It was perfect. And at the edge of the party, sitting on a crate with a cup of something warm, sat Kiyoya Kisugi. Amelia sat on his left, Karuna on his right. Amelia, you're not dancing. Kiyoya, I don't dance. Karuna, liar, I've seen you. Kiyoya, that was different. Karuna, how? Kiyoya, I was training. Amelia snorted, training to embarrass yourself. Kiyoya, exactly. They laughed. He let himself laugh with them. Location, the bright lands, the lookout. Late night, the party wound down. People drifted to their beds, their tents, their shared warmth. Kiyoya walked alone to the lookout, a cliff that overlooked the bright lands. The moon, still broken, still beautiful, hung overhead. Pyrrha was already there. Kiyoya, can't sleep. Pyrrha, too much on my mind. She glanced at him. You. Kiyoya, same. They stood in silence. The wind carried the scent of flowers, real flowers, growing where nothing had grown before. Pyrrha, what happens now? Kiyoya, now, we live. Pyrrha, that's simple. Kiyoya, that hard. He turned to her, but we do it together. She looked at him, not at the armor, not at the Gundam, not at the title. At him. Pyrrha, Jaune, Kiyoya, Kiyoya, he paused, but, maybe there's room for both. She stepped closer, took his hand. Pyrrha, then I'll call you Kiyoya. And when you forget who you are. She squeezed, I'll remind you. He squeezed back. Kiyoya, deal. Location, the bright lands, SunRise. The next morning, the sun rose over a world that had learned to hope again. Not perfectly, not without scars, but hopefully. The bright lands stretched to the horizon, green and gold, teeming with life that had once been darkness. In the distance, the rebuilt cities of Remnant glittered. Above, Axis hung, not a threat, but a guardian. And in a small outpost on the edge of everything, a group of heroes, broken, battered, but unbroken, woke to a new day. Kiyoya Kisugi stood on the landing pad, watching the sunrise. Noah Izumi joined him. You're up early. Kiyoya, couldn't miss this. Noah, the sunrise. Kiyoya, the beginning. She leaned against his shoulder. He let her. Behind them, the others stirred, laughter, arguments, the sound of coffee brewing. Kiyoya, quietly, thank you. Noah, for what? Kiyoya, for believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Noah, that's what heroes do. He looked at her, at all of them, at the world they had saved. Kiyoya, no, that's what family does. The sun rose higher. And somewhere, in a garden that had once been a battlefield, a wolf that had once been a grim howled, not in hunger, not in anger, but in joy. The end. Epilogue credits roll. Jaune, hero of SunRise. The light of the human heart is not a weapon. It is a promise. And promises, keep us going. Kiyoya Kisugi. And this is the end of this amazing epic crossover what if movie. Hope you guys like it. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel to see more content.